Men will capture presidential candidates of the Labour Party. Okay, he's already seated there with his wife. We could see him there with his wife, ready to perform his own civic duty there. Now, before now, we've been hearing we've been getting reports about the beavers machine. You know, some people say it went well. You know, it's been seamless. Some others say they've not been able to, you know, get accredited seamlessly. Okay, now that's the presidential candidate of the Labour Party about to go perform his civic duty, flanked by his wife. Very shortly, you're saying that. Let's just hope the beavers do not malfunction. No, that's just one hope every voter wants to, you know, see happen, that it just goes seamlessly. Oftentimes we get to see that either the thumbprint or the facial capturing, you know, does not capture appropriately. But this should not be the case this time around, because INEC has assured us that there are also backup beavers machines that have been deployed to every polling unit. So we expect everything to go on seamlessly without any malfunction. Let's get a bit of an ambience there, if we could. Let's get ambience.
Okay. Okay. They're saying you're blocking them, so you should just bend.
That's my colleague. It's very hot tempered.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Let's go.
Yeah, we'll go to this way. I'm sitting down. Is that okay?
You are blocking people. Go, come out, Awka, come out.
At this point, I don't want to move. I don't want to move. I just need one shot.
Just like crawling, maybe step by step.
I just need one shot of it.
Please don't go. Don't step forward,
Turnout, you can see your phone, please. Please, put your phone away.
Points. Let's introduce our guest. When we get the signal, okay, the signal is back. That's the presidential candidate of the Labour Party casting his ballot.
He's still completing. We're waiting. That's where we are. That's where we are standing. We can't get to where he is now. He's completing now. Where we are standing. We can't get to where he is now. He's completing now. Please, don't be here.
But nobody will come back. So you're going to block him. Please don't do that when it's actually voting, okay? Just hold your ground and don't go up. Go down. You can go down. You're going to piss off everyone behind you.
Oh, okay, he's about casting his ballots now. That's the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, casting his ballots. Atumwa 2 Agolo in Anosha local government area, polling unit 019 precisely. Come on. Gabson, I'm going to him. Gabson, I'm going to him.
Be ready to move. Be ready to follow me, sir.
Okay, Mr. Peter Obi has just cast his ballot.
Let me go outside now.
Okay, sir. What do you have to say about it?
Let me go back. Please go back.
Okay, you cast your ballot. What's your take? What's your take?
Go outside. Go outside.
This is channels, this is TVC, this is our rights.
Allow him to go out. Let me ask. Is this place better or outside better?
Okay, we're trying to get back from the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, just after he cast his ballot. There are correspondents trying to get an interview, but we seem to have lost signal there. But it will be very, very important to get his response after performing such important civic right, which means a lot to him, actually. This, you know, he is actually the third key presidential candidate out of 18. We've seen the APC presidential candidate performed his his own civic right. We've also seen the PDP presidential candidate, you know, done his, and now the Labour Party. So it will be now. Okay, we're also connecting to Kano. We see Kwankwaso also, who is also among the top 4 contenders for the top position, talking about the presidential seat of Nigeria, about to cast his own ballot, performing his civic right. So let's see if we can get ambience in Kano. NNPP, New Nigeria People's Party, Kwankwaso, that's the presidential candidate of the NNPP, performing his civic right. We're still trying to get a clear signal from Awka, you know, to get the response of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party. And let's also remind you that it's not just the presidential election happening today. The National Assembly election is also going on alongside the presidential election. So let's see if we can get ambience now. A clearer ambience from Kano. We're seeing the presidential candidate of the NNPP, Senator Musa Rabiu Kwankwaso.
We are still standing by for Mr. Peter Obi for his interview. Trying to get a stable shot for the presidential candidate of the NNPP. It can be a little bit rowdy because at this time, you know, it's critical. Everybody wants a good shot. Everybody wants to be first hand there. Let's see for our cameraman. Okay, Labour Party ready. Let's see.
We all love each other. We live like a family. You can see I live. If you have been to where I live, you can see I live with all my brothers and sisters in block of flat. We live together.
So what's your message? In some few hours, the election process would have ended in terms of you being able to verify and also vote. So what's your message to anybody that might still be at home?
It's come out and vote. It's about our country. It's an existential election. We need to come together as a people to start building this nation. We have a problem here, and we need to fix it.
Your Excellency, there is this rumor that you're going to step down for like a PDP presidential candidate.
Well, if you look at this election, there's only one person people will step down for. It's me, because I have the solution to the problem, and I have the both physical and mental energy to do the work. And I'm not saying it for anything. I'm ready for it. I'm prepared for it. I've articulated what will happen from day one, and people will see it. Clear, measurable, everybody will feel it from day one. So I can't step down for anybody.
So,
thank you.
And what do you have to say about the INEC preparation based on the previous election and today's election?
Well, listen, like I said,
Okay, the response there by the presidential candidate of Labour Party. All candidates are showing confidence, which is natural on a day like this. He's so confident that he will emerge the winner, but only Nigerians can decide that. Let's see if we can connect back to Kano to get response from the NNPP presidential candidate, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso. Rowdy there. The cameramen are still struggling to, get... at this point, let me just quickly introduce my guest already seated in the studio. We have Professor Nuhu Yakub. He's the former Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, and also a political scientist. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you.
Always nice to have you come on NTA on important days like this.
It's my pleasure. Always.
All right.
I'm serving the country.
Yes. Okay. We also have Mr. Dayo Olaide. He's an election analyst and observer, Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Olaide.
Thanks, Ruth, for having me. Always a pleasure to be able to join your panel.
Okay, let me quickly start with you. You're an election analyst and an observer, and based on what you have observed so far, we've seen some polling units, some voting has commenced. As at after 11, one aspect I found quite fascinating and, heartbreaking for voters, actually, because they've been there talking about Lugbe here in the FCT. Voting has not commenced as at after 11, How would you react to that, and based on your general perception?
I guess the point to make is that voting is not as easy as boiling water. So it's not equivalent of sitting behind your laptop and just sending an email.
Okay, let me quickly hold your thoughts, Mr. Olaide. We'll get back to that. Kwankwaso, we're here. The NNPP presidential candidate is ready now for response. Let's get that response. Let's get an ambience, please.
The name of our party, NPP, is not written on all paper. And not only that, it is not very clear. So these are one of the challenges that maybe it has to be addressed.
Your Excellency, voters for the election. What is your impression after the situation reports have gathered from all your polling agents across the country?
I mean, voting didn't start until about an hour late, but as soon as it started, I think I was probably number 28.
Okay.
And they were alternating between the elderly and the young people. And as soon as it was my turn, verification happened in less than a minute. And I was able to actually complete the exercise, verification to voting, in less than 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. I was out of the place. But the point I was trying to make earlier is the fact that it's not going to be that seamless everywhere. It's not like just boiling water. It's not like sending an email from your phone or from your laptop. We will expect that experiences will vary. But I think with the level of preparation and what INEC has put in place, I think that all of the preparations coming up to this point has inspired a lot of expectations, and I think has also inspired confidence. And so it will be really nice that even as we are discussing the elections, that we also give people the opportunity to actually share personal experience. My personal experience is that in 2-3 minutes, I was done. And I think that is just excellent.
Our correspondents have been going around polling units from across the country, and they've been giving us feedback, actually talking to voters there on their, how they feel and how the process are for them. So definitely we'll get more feedback when we join our correspondents from time to time. Professor Yakub, I want to believe you've also gone to vote this morning. Have you done that?
No, not at all, not yet.
Okay, and you'll be given priority as an elderly.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's right.
Okay, so
actually, I was given the impression I had to be here as late as last 9. So I decided I should come here first.
Well, we do appreciate you, honoring NTA. So how would you react to the whole electoral process so far from what you have been observing?
Well, I think we we should thank God in the first instance that things have been, well prepared. Taking the point. Looking at it from the perspective of what INEC has put in place up till this moment. Both the INEC leadership have given us assurance that, in as much as possible, the election would be, very peaceful. They were very much ready for the exercise. And the report we have been getting, even from my colleague here, indicates that, they are actually performing to their billing. And as such, we should expect that there will be no technical problem, or even if there is any.
With the beavers.
It is going to be immediately corrected on the spot. So let's repose confidence on what INEC has done so far. The other thing is that even from the way the election is taking place, it is also reportage you have been getting indicates that it has been very peaceful, and that is what actually democracy requires. It's not the kind of thing that we've been having or we used to have in the past, whereby thugs had been arranged, prepared, energized to go and steal ballot boxes or whatever, or drive, dismiss people, and then they will take over, and to begin to enter what names or whatever.
All right, Prof, we'll pick up from that. Let's quickly join our correspondent, Amaka in Lagos, one of the polling units. I've just been informed she's not ready. So, she's back. So let's see that. Amaka, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. And I'm at MOT Marina, one of the polling units in Ekpe local government area. And interestingly, this is a place opposite the river Ekpe, and primarily the occupation of the people is that they are fishermen and farmers. But on this special day, they are part of history, and they had to put a stop to all their commercial activities they do to earn a living. And right here, the situation has been going on smoothly. I have with me an opinion leader in this area who is also a resident, Mr. Kadiri. So I want to talk to Mr. Kadiri. Mr. Kadiri, can you give us an assessment of what has been happening here since earlier in the day?
The general election has been free and fair. As we can see, there is no conflict, there is no disturbance. Everybody is here, going about their normal electoral process peacefully. So they are here, they casted their votes peacefully, and while they are waiting for the collation and the counting of their votes. So there is no problem, everything is peaceful, and Ekpe is peaceful generally. So we are happy, everything is peaceful. So no problem, the electoral process is very, very peaceful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kadiri. So earlier we went to Balogun, where the Deputy Governor of Lagos State cast his votes alongside his wife, Dr. Olufemi Hamzat, and it was also peaceful there. We visited some other riverine areas in Ekpe area, and earlier in the day, some of them complained of late arrival of electoral materials. We proceeded to the INEC office, and we saw that a lot of dispatch had already taken place, and we are still here observing the mood of this area and the conduct of the people, which I must tell you has been peaceful, and a lot of cooperation right here. And the appropriate key players are also at their designated positions, doing what they ought to do and what is expected of them.
All right, thank you very much, Amaka, for that update there. Quite interesting to see people who are naturally, you know, future men want to also be. Yeah, oh, that's your village. Okay, and that's Mr. Olaide's village, Ekpe, in Lagos. But, you know, one interesting thing I found about that is the fact that the whole process has been seamless. Reports we've been getting from across the country, it's been peaceful and it's been seamless. Just before I get back to you, Professor Yakub, let's quickly introduce our third guest who just joined us, Ibrahim Modibo, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. It's good.
Have you performed your civic rights today?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And
Which of
it's
the
good to be
areas?
here with my one and only prof, a highly respected scholar and academician that I've known for a very long time, and the distinguished gentleman who I'm meeting for the first time. It's good to be here.
Okay, so which of the polling unit did you perform that?
In Area 3.
Area 3. How was the process for you?
Well, the process has been seamless, fantastic arrangement, and you know, the decentralization of the polling units, you know, gives people the latitude to go in seamlessly and then vote according to their conscience. And I think there was no harassment, there was no thing like rancor, everything has been peaceful up to the point when I voted. And I think this is one of the most impressive elections I've witnessed, because I've been here, I witnessed election from 1979 and going to 83.
I wasn't even born in 1979.
Oh, sure,
so
but I voted. I voted in 79 and then 83 and then coming down the line. I think NTA should be commended for a very wonderful, warm and highly, you know, attractive coverage, giving almost every section of this country its due, you know, perception of the elections, and then giving the presidential candidates also the latitude to talk to people, to vote. We've seen all, and therefore there was no discrimination, and I think it's a very commendable effort. From 1983 or 73, where you had verdicts in NTA, it has been a wonderful coverage till date. I think it's a commendable effort.
And Nigeria, no doubt, has a remarkable history from the transition, you know, from democratic rule to military, then back to civil rule. And since 1999, we have been able to, you know, to hold our democracy strong, and which is what it's been demonstrated on this important day. Let's quickly take a report before we get back to our guest from Ekiti. Let's see that.
25th of February is finally here, and the people of Ekiti are eager to imprint their fingers on the ballot paper to elect the next president and people that will represent them at the National Assembly. I am in polling unit 004 in Ekiti, Ikole West 1, Ikole local government area of Ekiti State. And this particular polling unit, voting has commenced, and some people have taken their turn to vote for candidates of their choice. I have with me a 104-year-old woman, Mama Toria Ojo, who says she has been participating in election since she became of age. Mama, ẹgbà wo lẹ ti ń dìbò àti pé báwo lẹ ti ṣe rí láti gbà tẹ́ ti ń dìbò, báwo lẹ tó dìbò ṣe rí sí yín?
Ọgbà kan tí dìbò látọgbà tẹ bàbá wó lọ́wọ́ ní mọ̀tẹ́bọ̀n ìdìbò. Ṣùgbọ́n ká bá ti dìbò ǹtí, màá lọ asúlé mi, mẹ́mọ̀ wé.
Kí ni nǹkan tó mú orí yín wú láti pé kẹ́ máa dìbò ní gbogbo ìgbà tí ètò ìdìbò bá ti wà?
Lẹ́pa yìí pé kọ́ ọmọ mi kọ́ elégé ọ̀sà ẹ̀yẹ kọ́ bá ní sùkúrù kọ́ ọmọ mi yún kó èmọ̀ yún lásán kan gbà á sóṣẹ́ òun nífà tẹ́kẹ́ máa dìbò.
Ẹ ṣé gan ni màmá, ẹ lè máa lọ mà. What Mama Toria Ojo is saying is that she has been voting since she became of age, and for her, the reason why she deems it fit to always vote during every election is to have a better society where everybody will have the opportunity to be whatever they intend to be. And that is the situation here at polling unit 004 in Ikole local government area. The voting is going out smoothly, and the people are in the queue are waiting their turn to actually exercise their franchise. We'll be going to other polling units now. We'll keep you posted as events unfold.
Very much. Our correspondent there from Ikoli in Ekiti State giving a situation report on what is happening there. And quite interesting to see Mama 104, you know, performing her civic right even at that age. It's beautiful to see. I know Professor Yakub would like to respond to that, but let's quickly take a report, then you respond to that. Let's see another report.
I'm right at Kobakpe, Ward 5, Unit 5, in Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State. Here, the electorate are still waiting for the arrival of INEC officials and the electoral materials. What we have on ground here now is just the presence of one police officer, and the voters are already here inside this hall waiting for the INEC officials to arrive so they could commence voting on time.
I've been here since around 6:06 to be precise, and up to now we've not seen any INEC official, and we are still waiting, believing that they'll be here very soon, so at least to keep the hope going, because quite a number of people are waiting, and their presence here will kind of encourage people to actually come out and exercise their civic duties.
And do you think this delay on the part of INEC will in any way affect this election?
I think for a start it may, because getting to see them will actually encourage people to come out. But quite a number of people coming out, getting to see that they are not around, could actually discourage many going back home. And that's not a good start for what you're expecting.
Okay, a rí pé ẹ ti tètè jí kúrò láàárọ̀ yìí tẹ́ wá sí ibi ètò ìdìbò. Kí ni ìdí tẹ́ fi tètè jí kúrò lé?
Ìdí pé a fẹ́ dìbò ká lè ti di kíákíá ká lè máa lọ ilé wa kíákíá ní òrọ̀wọ́ ọ̀sẹ̀ kó má sí wàhálà kankan.
Báwo lẹ ṣe wá rí sí báyìí pé àwọn tó fẹ́ ṣe ètò ìdìbò yìí wọ́n síbi kí lẹ́yìn wá rí sí?
Nǹkan tá a rí sí ni pé ọmọ àtó dé àdóòdè wọn náà ni ká fi lè ṣe gbogbo nǹkan tá a bá fẹ́ ṣe kó lè tù wá lára àtọmọdé àtàgbà wa kó lè tù wá lára.
Okay, can you just tell us briefly what Mama has just said in Yoruba language?
Okay, Mama said she came quickly so that she could just quickly cast her votes and go home. And she's optimistic that the officials will soon be here, and she trusts God they'll come here early, she'll vote, and she'll go home quickly.
Yes. We continue to give you updates from this part of Ogun State as we now move to another location for updates on the verdict 2023. I am Doris Olumoko.
Thank you, Doris, all the way from Ogun State. They're giving us insight as to the situation report. That was actually happening earlier before the report was sent in to us. So we want to believe when we connect to Doris, voting would have commenced, because as of that time, it hasn't commenced because of late arrival of INEC officials. So let's quickly go to Duse. Let's take a report from Duse now to get a situation report on what's happening there. Let's take that.
This is one of the polling units in Limawa ward of Duse local government area, and it is one of the colony where people with disability reside. With me here is Mubarak, one of the people that is living in this community. Mubarak, can you tell us what is happening here?
Firstly, my name is Mubarak Abdurrahman. I come out since 6 a.m. to cast my vote. Therefore, we have some little issues with that polling unit. The issue is that we have a lot of handicaps and people with disability. The INEC did not provide the adequate material on how to come out and cast their vote immediately and go back their respective homes.
Thank you, Mubarak. This community is known for people that are living with disability in Jigawa State, to be precise, the metropolis. And it is expected that provision will have been made by the INEC to see that these people exercise their franchise. Ibrahim Bello, NTA News.
Ibrahim Bello there from Duse giving us a situation report, and quite interesting. It's good to know that inclusivity is being involved this time around to the fullest, talking about persons with disabilities who are also part of the electoral process. We got information from INEC that 16% of the persons living with disabilities, are part of this electoral process. That's from their total number. All right. Just Indiaba, if I get that name correctly, she's standing by. Let's join our correspondent in Jos right now for a situation report. So go ahead if you can hear me loud and clear. What's happening at your unit?
Yes, Ruth, thank you very much. We are at Wanrogo LEA Primary School polling unit, Naraguta B, in Jos North local government area of Plateau State. There are about 7 polling points here with more than 7,000 people expected to cast their ballot here. A unique feature about this polling unit is that the elderly, pregnant women, and the physically challenged are given due consideration in line with the Electoral Act. I have Malam Tijani here with me. He is visually impaired. He's going to share his experience with us. Malam Tijani, how are you?
I'm fine.
You just cast your ballot. Can you share your experience? How was it?
All I see people here plenty, but the thing come easily to me.
Okay. How did you cast your ballot? Did you have anybody to assist you?
I gave my son to assist me to board my card.
And so you are satisfied with how the process went?
I satisfied.
Thank you. Apart from Tijani, we also have some youth here who have shown a great level of enthusiasm to exercise their civic responsibility. Can you describe how the process has been so far?
The process is being well. It's just that we have some little challenges. That's the delay in bringing the boxes and other things.
But I can see that the voting has commenced.
It has, but up till now some boxes are not ready. But it has commenced now.
Okay. From what he is telling us now, there are some polling units that are yet to have their voting materials, but they are optimistic that election will go as scheduled in those polling units. So they are quite hopeful that it will go on. I also have another person here who will also describe the situation for us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam. Actually, we are so highly impressed with their exercise in such a way that we have given credit to the INEC officials for doing well done, even though the program started very late, but I'm very, very much sure that everybody will be attended before the closing time or before the stipulated time given for that. So we expect more to be done on what they have done already. So they should improve more to see that people now have released in so many things that is going on, but we appreciate what is actually going on. The exercise is going on well.
Thank you. The atmosphere is calm, is peaceful, and they are hopeful that all will end well. Ruth?
Thank you very much, Deyang, for that situation report there from your end, all the way from Jos. Thank you. We'll definitely connect back to you if you have any information for us here. Professor Yakub, I want to get back to you particularly because part of the, observation from our correspondents is priority given to persons with disabilities and then the elderly, even pregnant women, which is part of the electoral process for this year, and it's quite commendable, paying critical attention to that section. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's something to actually appreciate and applaud, because what it means is that the elderly, will not need to be stressed up. The pregnant women and also people who have disabilities, they will not be stressed up. They can easily cast their vote and go back to their homes. But what is, that is quite pleasing, and I think it should be sustained. In particular, I want to make reference to the old woman, 104,
yes.
Who has been voting according to the reporter since she became of age. What is important about this is the lesson that everybody should learn or take from it. This is somebody who believes that democratic setup is very important, and she has witnessed it right from the time of pre-independence and throughout to this date. In fact, if there is anything, if there is anything that the...
So, Prof, let me hold your thoughts. Our correspondent is standing by in Lagos. Abolade Salami is standing by in Lagos. Abolade, if you can hear me loud and clear, so just hit it right away.
All right, I'm presently at Onikoyi, here in Ikoyi, where we have 2,466 registered voters. And lucky enough for us, we have the PRP presidential candidate, Kola Abiola, who just exercised his franchise. So I'm going to speak with him now to see how
Mr. Kolabiola, you just exercised your franchise. Yes. Tell us, how is the experience like?
Yes, it's so far so good. I was meant to have voted in Abuja, but long story, but I'm voting now in my original polling booth. I'm impressed with the system. I think with the beavers, it will make a big difference and it will work. I think the problem this time around is not so much INEC, but all the other activities and government policy, the lack of cash, the lack of the petrol, the difficulties in transferring monies through the banking system, paying our agents and all this kind of thing. That is more of a hindrance on this election than INEC. So I think, having heard the chairman speak, the president speak, I think they are very sincere about this process.
Okay, what got my attention is the crowd that I saw when I got here. How will you describe this?
Very impressive. I've always said that this election will be the largest voter turnout in the history of politics in Nigeria, and it's proving to be that. It's so important because we need a mandate. Since 1993, my father's led election, MKO, we have not really elected our own leaders. So I think we have an opportunity to do that this time, particularly because we don't have an incumbent president. 70% of our governors are two-term governors, they're not coming back. 79% of our House of Assembly members, Federal House, are not coming back because they didn't get their ticket. So we have an opportunity to really go out and vote for the people that we want, irrespective of their party flags. Look at the individuals, their capacity, their individuality, and how honest they are to serving the people. And I think with that turnout, we will see a dynamic change in politics in Nigeria. Also today, I must say, it's also special to me in a way. Today is equally my daughter's birthday, so that helps.
Congratulations. Thank you so much, Mr. Kolabiola.
Thank you very much.
So as you've heard from one of the voters who just exercised his franchise, there's so many yet out there in the crowd that are waiting to exercise their franchise. And again, the one interesting thing is that the Beavers has been up and running. The INEC officials have had a seamless exercise, and everyone on the crowd have made sure that they arrange themselves, and they've been so orderly to ensure that everything goes smoothly. That's the present situation at Onikoyi here in Ikoyi.
Okay, thank you very much, Abolade Salami, for that update there. We'll definitely connect to you again if you have any updates for us. Thank you. And also, good to see the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, Kola Abiola, just performed his civic duty. Thank you. We'll definitely connect with you, Abolade. Okay, so let's get back to our guest here. Mr. Modibo, I'm sure you want to respond to what you've just seen on our screens. How would you respond to that? Most of the reports we're getting, everything is going seamless, talking about the process.
Yes. You see, the beauty of democracy is the beauty of choice, where people are allowed the free will, without let or hindrance, to vote the person or persons of their choice. And we've seen in this election that preparedness by INEC to see that the vote counts. You know, in the days gone by, we used to have this manual voting, then we progressed to the Atari Jega's modified voting structure. And today, the beavers seems to be a very important aspect of our electoral process. And I think we must commend the government and we must commend INEC for the foresight of bringing beavers. In the days gone by, you recall that it was all a matter of do or die affair, while some people would just sit under trees and start writing figures, and they will go and announce. Yes. They will tell you, if you are not satisfied, go to court, because they know what they are doing.
Yes, yes.
But it is a different ball game now. The electoral process has given us the latitude to look dispassionately at some of the programs of action, some of the philosophies, and also some of the programs of what these candidates have to serve Nigeria. And therefore, it gives you the latitude of choice. And I'm so happy that this, particularly under the dispensation, we've seen presidential candidates go out, to campaign, and that the campaigns have been, well, except for some few distractions here and there, where we see attacks and what have you. I think, on the overall, I think it's a pass mark. And I think Nigerian democracy should be a symbol. It should act as a kind of a pointer to other democracies within sub-Saharan Africa so as to copy, to see to the possibilities of going in for a free and fair election without unnecessary rancor, without, in those days, you could, by now, we would have heard about killings and what have you.
Yes.
But for now, based on reportage of events that we've seen, on NTA, because I've been monitoring this program since morning. So when I went and voted and then came back, I've not heard of incidences of violence. And that is a very progressive and major landmark in our development as a democratic nation.
Yes, indeed, especially when we even got reports from Enugu. Enugu, we know, was one zone that, they were having series of attacks, the INEC office and all of that. But we've been hearing peaceful reports so far from our correspondent who has been giving us inputs since morning. Mr. Olaide, I'm sure you want to respond to what Mr. Modibo has just observed. And this is a situation where the awareness has been increased in terms of active participation of citizens, and that awareness, that sensitization of understanding that it's not a do-or-die affair. It's just your civic rights. It's just your mandate, for a new democratic dispensation.
I totally agree with him, and I think it's a good testimony of our democracy and the development that we have witnessed. Beginning, I think, in particular, 2011. There are a number of things that we can, point to as indicative of this progress. First will be voter turnout. This was pre-2011. We had, in some places, 90%, 80%. And like you said, we know what the explanations are.
Yes.
The explanations were basically that people will sit somewhere and just complete, whatever is the process and then declare results.
Yeah.
But that began to change 2011 with the reforms that was led by INEC, with the consciousness that civil society groups were able to raise and drive amongst the Nigerian people. And I think also with the changing attitude that we also began to then see, particularly among the security officials, that the security became more neutral and therefore, for lack of a better word, viable and pliable, to political machinations. So I think all of these have sort of built public confidence in the electoral process, so that people now know that we've gone past those era of snatch the ballot box and just thumbprint it and it goes. The rules have improved significantly, and you can also go to the data that is available in terms of the number of our election results that end in the courts. In 1999, 2003, 2007, up to 2007, I mean, the number of elections that were determined by the courts kept rising.
Yes.
But with the reforms beginning 2011, if you look at the figures, it's been on the decline, which for me, again, also speaks to the level of confidence. So we're making progress in many fronts. Citizens are getting more inspired, are having more confidence. A lot still needs to happen with political parties and the candidates. In particular, this belief that I can buy my way to any office. I think that remains a major blight in our electoral process, that we need to find a way to curtail and contain this major threat that that remains a major challenge. But having said that, I think we all have many reasons to celebrate in the electoral process and in what we have seen beginning today. I mean, I listened to several of the correspondents that came on air. Apart from, it will appear that the common thing was it started late, but in terms of the performance of beavers, fantastic. Everybody
we've not had any.
We've not had it. That's what. Two, the fear that there was going to be violence, it hasn't materialized. Yes. Of course, we've not yet gotten to that point of looking at the spread, because I remember the threat analysis that was done by CLAIM. It identified, I think, about 21 or 22 states that they consider as violence hotspots. Yeah. Many of those states we are yet to touch, but even at these early stages, I think we have every reason to begin to beat our chest that yes, 2023 has started well, and fingers crossed will end well.
Yes, indeed, and the signing of the Electoral Act 2022 into law, Professor Yakub, you agree with me, was also one area or one aspect to it that is making this electoral process seamless, so to say. We've had reports, no threats and all of that, and we're seeing active citizen participation. You want to react to that?
Well, I think I generally agree with the points made by my colleagues. What we're witnessing today is a landmark improvement, in terms of the electoral process. And also, because it's still very at a preliminary stage of reportage, we also need to be cautious about arriving at conclusions. But yes. So far,
because voting is still going on.
It's still going on, that's
yes.
right.
We have
that's
1.5 hours left, depending on the places.
We should also remember that this is just one phase of the electoral process in this election season.
Yes.
The next one is coming on the 13th or so of March. So we still have to tally a bit and wait for what we'll get eventually. I'm saying this because researchers will want to actually do analysis on a composite basis and arrive at the conclusion that we are trying to arrive at the moment. But so far, so good.
Yeah, so far, so good. Yeah. Mr. Modibo, when we look at INEC's preparedness in terms of being optimistic, we've had the chairman come out subsequently to say this process will be seamless. He's expressed confidence, he's expressed optimism that INEC is fully prepared. And if we want to look at the introduction of technology into the electoral process, would you say it has in any way, added to the advantage of our electoral process if you want to do, like a comparison from where we started till date?
Yes. Let me state here that I've never met Professor Yakubu one-on-one, the INEC chairman. But whenever I see him on television, by his words and actions, he is a very competent scholar and academic, and also a dispassionate leader of the electoral process. He has been able to pilot the affairs of INEC with gusto and philosophical calmness, in both content and character. I've seen the man perform this job dispassionately and also with all amount of seriousness, with a view to giving Nigerians a very credible election. And therefore, the introduction of these beavers, a lot of these politicians are not happy because they know the system in the days gone by, they are gone. And therefore, these beavers have brought in a new vista in our electoral process. And therefore, the issue of rigging of elections, snatching of ballot boxes, even if you snatch now, it's inconsequential because it is going into the technology. So this technology, the bringing in of these beavers, has helped in no small measure. Look at the issue, the elections in Ekiti and Oshun and all that. Agreed that there are some fundamental flaws, but if you look at the marginal, in terms of modus operandi, the marginal fault lines are by far less than what we used to have before. I completely agree with our distinguished gentleman there, Mr. Olaide, if I'm right. Olaide. Where he stated that, look, if you look at the statistics of court cases arising from electoral processes, have been declining substantially.
Yes.
Agreed. There is no country that will have a flawless electoral process. Yeah. But then, if you look at the limitations in terms of court processes, and also the cleanness in INEC giving us a good electoral process is something to cheer about. And Nigeria has hope, because these electronic machines as copied or as brought from other countries based on research and findings is of fundamental importance to this country and our own electoral processes. Therefore, to me, this is the beginning of a good electoral system that we're going to have maybe in the next 100 or 200 years as we copy from America. I hope that democracy will persist, and then we'll have credible elections being built on from the Jigawa, Yakubu era and what have you, so that we'll be able to have a good point of reference, a good electoral system that will conform with the global trend of politicking. Because under globalization and multiculturalism such as ours in Nigeria, there's a need for us to have a copy or to bring in, to have elections that will be acceptable. Because any election that has controversies without acceptability, and I'm happy most of these presidential aspirants are saying that, look, the whole process is clean, and anyone that wins, they are ready to accept. So therefore, I commend INEC, and I commend the Beavers for doing a good job, and I'm sure by the grace of God we'll have a clean election where we have a government that will come in, that will change the face and character of governance in this country. Thank you.
And we're hoping definitely peaceful, credible and fair election is what every Nigerian is hoping and praying for today. And talking about INEC, we just got information that at the National Collation Center, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, is already, some of the persons have already seated very soon, not too soon, but definitely when they're ready, we'll join the ICC, that's the International Conference Center here in Abuja, for the briefing by the INEC chairman. On election day like this, there's usually a briefing by the INEC chairman. So definitely when they are ready, that's a shot of the ICC there in Abuja, here in Abuja rather, we'll definitely join them. Okay, are we connecting to them now? Okay, they're not ready. Okay, I'm told we're going to Yola. Let's join our correspondent in Yola before we pick up with the conversation here in the studio. So let's connect to our correspondent in Yola.
Hello, thank you, Ruth. Here I'm right now in the polling unit 002 in Godobawa ward of Yola North local government area of Adamawa State. The situation here is calm and cool as the electorates, as the voters have turned out en masse to exercise their civic responsibility. The INEC equipment are very effective. The Beavers is not giving any headache, as one can just come at a time and cast his vote seamlessly. There are also 634 voters that are expected to cast their votes in the 002 unit of Godobawa ward. Among them is the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, who just arrived at the polling unit to also cast his vote. Will be joined by the SGF very soon. As you can see, he is at the point of accreditation, where the INEC officials will be attending to him to receive the ballot box to cast his vote. Come close.
Okay, let's see if we can get a closer shot there. Yeah, that's the SGF, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, performing his civic right.
All right, as we can see, the Beavers is on process. The SGF is being being attended by the INEC officials, and he just presented his voter's card to the one of the ad hoc staff at the moment. His thumbprint has picked up. He will just be given the voters. Will be given ballots to cast the ballot any moment from now. As we see, the place is calm, being the one of the major stakeholder in the Nigeria's affairs, being the Secretary of the Government of the Federation. The people are all around watching him. He is now moving to the point of casting the ballot. He's coming back from here. He's coming back in.
Where is the box?
Yeah, the place is filled up with journalists from all across the media houses, from both within and outside Nigeria. We have BBC, we have Al Jazeera, and what have you. All of them are at hand to witness this exercise as Nigeria decides in the 2023 general elections. In Adamawa State, we have 2,234,775 registered voters. Out of this number, 2,234,000 registered voters, there are only 255,555 voters that did not collect their PVCs. This number is barely not up to 12 to 13%. Adamawa State is one of the states with the high number of voters that have collected their PVCs in terms of the percentage. As we all know, as I said earlier, there are 634 registered voters in this unit, and all of them are expected. Majority of them have already casted their ballots, and due to the seamless nature of the equipment, the process is going on smoothly without any hiccups, as I said. The SGF has now cast his ballots and is working out from the polling unit. Let's now join him to hear his remark on the election.
We are live. We are live.
You just exercise your franchise and cast your ballot. How do you describe the whole process going on here?
We are live.
The process is quite commendable. I think INEC have done an excellent job over the years. They have rehearsed this over and over, and I think we are getting to the point of perfection very soon.
What do you expect at the end of this exercise?
That it will be a fair, free, peaceful, and equitable election, and all-inclusive. That's my expectation.
Sir, did you witness any hitch, or have you heard of any hitch with the beavers machines or the entire process?
Well, the beavers machine, it's a bimodal machine. So as often as possible, you can experience few hitches, but they are often cleared. Like when I first came, my thumbprint couldn't pick up. They did the facial, it wasn't picking as well as they expected it. And they asked me to try again with the thumbprint, and I did it and it picked up. So it's a machine. And you have to expect some few hitches here and there, but nothing very, very major that would have impacted the election.
How long did it take you?
Barely 2 minutes. I was out of the place.
What is your expectation being an equity?
Well, I think campaigns have closed. Every politician would expect his party to win.
So finally, what will you be saying to residents and voters of Adamawa State regarding these elections?
I think election is a contest. At the end of the day, somebody will emerge as a winner. It is all in the process of the development and sustainability of our democratic ethos. And we should move in that direction and not allow anything to impede our development. This is 24 years of unbroken democratic practice in this country. It's commendable. This is the 7th time INEC is conducting an election, and I think they are improving by the day, and we must commend them for a job well done.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's the remarks from by the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, Boss Gida Mustafa, who just cast his ballot. As attested to him, the process is just 2 minutes will take you to cast your ballot, as there is no much hitches. The machines is very much, the beavers is very much effective, and they also ad hoc staff of the INEC are up and doing in meeting up to the yearnings and aspirations of the voters here.
All right, thank you very much for that situation report there, all the way from Yola. And something very critical he mentioned, 24 years of unbroken democracy. This is the 7th election. It is a big deal for us here in Nigeria. And it's not yet Uhuru, so to say, Mr. Olaide, but the former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta said that Nigeria is expected to be a model to other African nations in terms of electoral processes. And one significant aspect we've always seen over time is not really significant, or quite unfortunate rather, that has been dealt with, so to say, this time around, from what we have observed so far, vote buying. Now you are not even seeing the cash, so to say, for that. So what would you say regarding that?
I think I want to side with the SGF to say that Nigerians and Nigeria should be congratulated for this feat, the 7th back-to-back elections since 1999, the longest so far in our political history as well, 24 years. The technology that we are seeing play a major role. I think that it's a major landmark, and Nigerians again should celebrate the fact that for the very first time we now have in our Electoral Act a provision that allows INEC to actually determine, the part of the electoral process and the specific technology that it can deploy to enhance the process. I think for me it's still at the very early stages. There are still significant part of the electoral process that we still need to fix. But what the technology has been able to do for me, two critical things. I think first and foremost is it has helped us to address, in part, what was widely considered as the black hole in our electoral process and the weakest link in our electoral process, collation. For several years, 1999, 2003, 2007, even before results were counted, they were announced. Technology is fixing that.
Yes.
It's no longer possible for anyone to just sit somewhere and announce results.
Or predict it.
Or even predict it.
Yes.
So it's, in a way, actually enhancing the competitiveness that every democracy and every election are supposed to have. So I think for me, it's really something that we should all be proud of. But like I said, it's still at the very early stages. Technology can do much more than what we are currently seeing. I think there is consensus that the biggest challenge in our electoral process is the human factor. It's the human factor that will devise how to get money to buy votes. It's the human factor that will determine how to bribe during the electoral process by INEC officials. It's the human factor that will mobilize violence against opposition. It's the human factor that will think about how do you suppress voting in certain areas where you think you're weak. I think all of these areas we still need to plug them, because they remain major challenges in our electoral process. So technology still has a lot of roles to play. But at the same time, I also have to put this caveat. Technology cannot be the silver bullet to fixing our elections.
It still has to boil down to the individual.
It still boils down to the individual. And this is where, between technology and our laws, there is something that we need to raise, which is that how do we raise our enforcement capability for our laws, so that people who deploy hate speeches, who deploy violence in any form, mental, physical, in order to be able to have an advantage in the electoral process, we need to be able to bring them to book. In 2015, the National Human Rights Commission, for example, compiled a list of candidates and Nigerians, politicians, a lot of them politicians, who embarked on, hateful speeches and contributed to the violence that was witnessed in 2015. Many of them are today sitting in the National Assembly. Nothing has been done to them. And we can also recall several reports of violence in Bayelsa State and Rivers in 2011, 2015. Where specific names of political players were mentioned, but nothing has happened to them. So I think that aspect of our process is not going to be fixed by technology. We just need to find the capability as a people, as a nation, to be able to go after those who violate our laws and bring them to book. So accountability, political accountability, becomes a critical part of our electoral development that needs to start happening. It's going to be a work in progress, right? But I think we need to put this at the front line of the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olaide, for that. If I want to get you correctly, accountability takes a lot of committed effort, so to say, if we must get it right as a nation. Adeola is standing by in Lagos. Adeola is in our Verdict 2023 studio. Adeola, what do you have for us? Adeola, what do you have for us?
Well, Ruth, I must say the wait has been worthwhile, as our guest has also been with us all morning. We have a whole lot from this end, and we'll begin by letting us know that voting actually kicked off in most polling units on Victoria Island, with eligible voters queued to cast their ballots in high expectations. Let's hear from our correspondent.
On a co-Atlantic on Victoria Island, they've started voting here. Now I have a gentleman who just finished voting. You want to tell us about his experience? Please, your name, sir.
Well, I'm Honorable Taiwo Bakari Olaolu.
Okay, you just finished voting. How is the experience like?
Oh, the experience is cool, and I think we are good to go. I get him now, so that's just all.
What about the terms of the logistics?
Everything is perfect.
Divas?
Everything is perfect.
Madam, how will you describe your experience?
Oh, I had a good experience. The presiding officer and her assistant were very professional, and in just a matter of minutes I was able to vote after they got here.
How was the beaver like?
The beavers is working, and we haven't had any issues so far.
Likewise, my experience was quite good. There was a little bit of wait at the start, but as soon as the officials turned up, the presiding officer and the assistant, they were able to set up, and the process started in earnest very, very quickly, and it's been smooth ever since, yeah.
All right, we just heard from Ken Egbeluge there, and knowing that Lagos has 13,325 polling units, they need, enough security at all the polling units. So, men of the Nigerian Police Force, they are ready, and they have been monitoring, and they have provided adequate security for lives and property during today's election. And just as the Lagos State Police Command has its men on the roads of Lagos, so also the monitoring team is overseeing the election exercise through the air. An aerial view of Lagos shows the roads, devoid of the usual busy traffic from the Nigeria Police Air Wing to Ekpe. All seems well from here. Now on ground at polling Unit 3 in Ekpe local government area, Ekpe area of Lagos, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police interacted with the people who assured him there is no security issue and the people are working together to ensure a peaceful exercise. Okay, I have Malaki Ugumadu, legal practitioner and immediate past National President, Committee for Defense of Human Rights, CDHR. Thank you for your patience with us.
Thank you. It's worth the
work. We need to go around the nation to have a feel of what is happening. Now, we have heard from some of our correspondents, and we saw the police and all of that. How would you, have you voted? Let me start with that.
Well, because I left my polling area very early, I sought to go ahead with my accreditation that I was told to return back, accredit and vote at once. So I'm yet to do that, and I'm resolved to do it. Soon after this place, I'll go straight to Suwiri.
All right, now, okay, so the D-Day is upon us. How will you assess the situation in Lagos? We have heard from our correspondents that it's peaceful, security-wise, it's top-notch, even though there are some small, some journalists actually encountered some military stops where they didn't allow them move from point A to B. So how will you assess the election today as it stands?
Well, you can tell that we're just about halfway into the whole exercise. Yes. And an assessment of this point should take that into consideration. But by and large, it appears that first, the electorate are enthusiastic, and I made this point considering the percentage of voters that turned out. Yeah. And you would agree with me that given the reforms in the Electoral Act, what is an issue now is not the number of registrants. You are talking about the number of accredited voters. Now, a technical point to make around that is to say that the legitimacy of an electoral process is actually located within the context of participation. So where we are having already, as reports have shown, very high percentage of turnout of accredited voters, then the morning is already telling the day. So by and large, one is satisfied that the reforms witnessed in the Electoral Act, the technological evolution that has also attended this whole process in a way that takes away most of the hiccups and challenges and gaps that we have recorded in the past, as well as the enthusiasm of the people gives hope. And I think that we don't deserve less. Nigeria has come a long way, and it is gratifying that this time around, everything seems to be in place. Particularly the preparedness of INEC. Exactly. In spite of what would have ordinarily constituted hiccups, have managed to navigate this stage. And by and large, all across the country, as we get this report at this stage, it appears it's a great start. Yeah,
INEC has really done a lot. They have really done their homework, and I think for between the range of 100, what percentage will you give beavers? It's just what is needed. Well,
that assessment, my sister, I would like to do it at the end of the exercise. However, I speak to the enthusiasm of the people, the preparedness of INEC, the impact and implication of the technology and how it's working. And at the end of the day, I'm sure that we'll be able to assess them much easily when the whole report must have come in all across the country.
Okay, Malaki, compared to the last election where we had a lot of malpractices going on, that is not the case at this time because we've not heard anything about that. So is this the effect of the Electoral Act that's...
Correct. You're right. You're right. That is fundamentally what has happened, because as it is now, there are no stories about incidence forms any longer. You do not talk about overvoting. If you discussed it, it will go to nothing. It's of no effect because to ensure that those who are still traveling in that route are not just wasting their time. Their efforts will come to naught. So people have come to realize that they must play by the rules. And you could see the energy, the force of conviction, the with which INEC pointed in that direction to let the people allow the vote to count, because that is the only way you locate the legitimacy of the process. That is the only way, any way, and by which any person who emerges can say, I won this election. And once it is that way, you also reduce the implications of post-election contests, violence. It will be fair and square. Even the losers will come to the realization that the process was hitch-free.
Are you sure we will see that the lawyers like yourself will want to make some money because we'll be going to
the bigger challenge will be on the part of the challenge of the contestants, who would know, being a field player, that all of what he needs to hang on may not be there. So at the end of the day, you exercise your discretion or indiscretion.
And so finally, before I let you off the hook, what's the message for Nigerians at this time and the candidates?
The message for Nigeria, let me start with Nigerians, is to accept the fact that has come to bear on this exercise, is to remain hopeful, not just hoping against hope, but to believe and remain vigilant. Vigilance is the eternal price we pay for our liberty. Is to also ensure that the kind of enthusiasm, participation, involvement that they have shown does not just end after voting. We must follow it through and then speak up when indeed we observe any irregularity or transgression, just so that the corrections we need to make come handy and become part of the reforms and the revolution that we have witnessed.
Thank you, Malaki Gumadu, for your thoughts with us, and verdict 2023. So, Ruth, I'm taking a break from here because I need to go cast my own ballot. Here is my PVC.
You get the chance to go vote. For me, I'm seated here with the rest of our colleagues here in the studio. So I'm not the only one that will be disenfranchised today, but we'll definitely ensure that Nigerians get the best of update when it comes to election reporting from across the country. Thank you so much, Adeola, for that input from your end. Okay, we just got reports reaching us that Boko Haram in Goza attacked through the mountains surrounding the area, disrupting voting processes with electorates, among others, sustaining various degrees of injuries, number of casualties and deaths not yet confirmed. We'll give you more updates when we get a report from that. And quite unfortunate, I will say, Mr. Modibo, we were just here talking about how seamless the process has been and how peaceful the whole election from what we have observed so far and from the sections we've been getting reports. But this is really sad.
Ruth, my heart bleeds.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. One of the most worthy and outstanding narrative of this electoral process is the seamless exercise where the issue of violence has not been reported. But with this development now, I feel very sad. Although, it is not unexpected. Because in a country like Nigeria, with this landmass and this population, we cannot have 100% clean record. Definitely there must be some hitches here and there. Bearing in mind the issue of this banditry, the issue of these kidnappers, the issue of this Boko Haram, the issue of all these insurgencies within the north central, northeast, and the southeast, it's expected. Because if you look at the southeast, there has been this warning, you know, by that Samuel Ekpa, but I am so happy that the military, the police, the security agencies in the whole have been able to step in. And for now, we've not heard of any problem arising therefrom. But I had expected that the northeast could be one of the flashpoints of disturbances, especially the modus operandi of Boko Haram and ISWAP. Although the security agents, they've been trying, but these people will always look for new ways to infiltrate and also to cause problems. So this is not unexpected. On the overall, I think the electoral system has been going very well, although they said there's no reported cases of deaths yet.
Yet to be confirmed, the number of casualties and
so we just pray. We just pray that they only came and dispersed people without necessarily inflicting injuries and what have you. So I think on the overall, the electoral system, the way and manner these elections have been going on, from morning up to this point in time, I think is worthy of commendation. And I just pray that by the time this thing is completed, you see, Ruth, the problem of Nigerian political system is the problem of resources. Now that there is no money to buy votes, now that the issue of corruption has not been able to infiltrate someone due to the fact that the naira and what have you is nowhere to be found. So you find out that the electoral system is placed in such a way that now there is no that muzzle flexing in terms of looking for resources, you know, to line people's pockets. So that seems to cool down the tempo and also makes it easier. Just go, vote and go. Since nothing is coming into your pocket, I think it has added a lot of value. That tomorrow, I don't expect anyone to tell me that, look, people, there was this vote buying or this and that. Because even if you talk of vote buying, who is having the money? And even with the security apparatuses that have been put in place, especially the EFCC monitoring, the ICPC monitoring, and other security organizations monitoring the conduct of these elections, I am of the opinion that, God willing, we're going to have a free, fair, and credible election, where whoever wins have won clean, and whoever loses will have that political wherewithal, will have that temperament of going to congratulate the winner, so that we don't have all these unnecessary court cases that will be destructive or distract attention on the person that has won, so that we have a clean government that will give us the much needed dividends of democracy in Nigeria.
Yes, indeed, and in as much as we must commend INEC, we must also commend the security personnel. 425,000 security personnel has been deployed, according to the IGP. The Coalition Center here in Abuja, talking about the ICC, we're hearing it's ready. Let's join there.
It's election day in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigerians are voting for a president, 109 senators, and 360 members of the House of Representatives. From our situation room, we have been observing the processes nationwide, and we have been receiving reports from our state offices. As Nigerians are aware, the prevailing context for the conduct of the election is a bit challenging, but there is also a sheer determination on the part of the Commission to ensure that the elections hold and that they are free, fair, and credible. As Nigerians are aware, or most Nigerians I should say, this is the first time since 2011 that a general election has not been postponed after it was scheduled. It's part of the Commission's determination to ensure that we continue to do what is right. So we considered it auspicious to address the nation at this point, and we are going to continue to do so throughout the day intermittently until we formally open the Coalition Center tomorrow. So far, so good, generally speaking. Voting is going on nationwide. The bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS, deployed nationwide for the first time, has been functioning optimally in most parts of the country. And we hear actually less and less of complaints about the functionality of the bimodal voter accreditation system than we hear about our other processes. So based on the reports that we have received from the various states of the Federation and our office in the Federal Capital, some challenges were identified, one of which is the inability of the Commission in a number of places to open the polling units at the appointed hour of 8:30 a.m. Some of the polling units opened late, but in line with our policy, any Nigerian who is on the queue will have the opportunity to vote, no matter how long it takes, until the last person on the queue before 2:30 votes, no matter how long it takes. Some of the reasons why we couldn't open the polling units on time are, one, the perennial problem of logistics, in spite of our best effort. I think in 2023 we have conquered the challenge of getting election materials here and there, but generally speaking, we have delivered the hundreds of millions of ballot papers and result sheets that we are supposed to deliver for the election. But another contributory factor to the late opening of the polling units is actually the perennial insecurity in the country. For instance, we couldn't deploy early enough to Alawa in Shiroro local government area of Niger States. Bandits launched an attack, not necessarily on INEC officials, but in the area. So on the advice of the security agencies, we tarried a while. But I'm happy to say that we were able to deploy to Alawa, and voting in that location is ongoing as we speak. Similarly, in Oshimili local government area of Delta State, thugs attacked a polling unit and 2 beavers machines were lost in the process. But again, determined that election must continue, we were able to replace the stolen beavers machines, reinforce security, and voting continued in that location. Similarly, in Safana local government area of Katsina State, thugs attacked one of our voting locations and snatched 6 beavers machines. But again, we were able to recover and use the spare beavers machines and reinforce security for voting to continue in that location. Happily, the security agencies have recovered 3 of the beavers machines, but 3 are still held by the thugs. So in these locations, the target of attack was actually the beavers machines. No longer our ballot papers or ballot boxes is the beavers machines. But in the 2 instances, we were able to recover and continue with the process. But there are also other complaints we had from some political parties about the shortage of polling agents' tags, the identity tags. Nigerians may recall that for the first time, we designed a portal and encouraged all political parties, as required by law, to nominate their polling agents. They never interacted with INEC face-to-face. And we harvested over 1.5 million nominations from political parties for agents at polling units level alone, and over 68,000 for collation at ward level local government level, and the states, and 27 collation agents for the national collation as nominated by the 18 political parties. And we printed those cards and delivered them in the main to the states, where they were collected by the state chairmen of political parties. But not all the parties nominated agents for all the polling units. So we did what we were supposed to do. And if there are issues, then definitely these issues will not be from the commission. But we also realized, and that is why we created the portal, that parties would like to issue agents their own tags bearing only the logos of the party and the word agent written across. In this case, anybody can claim to be the agent of any political party at any level, resulting in some instances commotion during collation, where 2 or more agents will claim to represent a political party. And that's why we created the portal, where they uploaded the names of the agents and the description of where they are going to serve as agents, as well as their photographs. And these cards were laminated and delivered to the states. One of the parties drew my attention to a letter. They said in one of the states, they were given a letter by INEC in the absence of the accreditation tags. But our officials at the polling unit level did not recognize those agents because they were not bearing the INEC accredited cards. I requested that gentleman to share a copy of that letter with me. He shared a copy of that letter, and it was clearly issued by his party, not by INEC. And when I drew his attention to it, he immediately deleted the message. So this is the clarification on the issue of agents. And I would still like to advise political parties that as we go into the concluding phase of this election, particularly when we go into collation of results, the Commission will insist that only INEC accredited collation agents will be admitted into the collation centers. Finally, there was an issue raised by some of the political parties, particularly at the polling unit level this morning. They said that in some instances, the logos of the political parties were on the ballot papers, but the acronyms of the political parties were not on the result sheets. I need to provide this important clarification. The process of producing the result sheets is more complicated than the production of the ballot paper. For result sheets at polling unit level, they are polling unit specific, and they are in several carbonized copies that the Commission will retain the top copies, the first 2 top copies, and then give each polling agent at polling unit level a copy, and 1 copy goes to the police. The process of producing the result sheet is a lot more complicated than the production of the ballot papers. So what we did on the result sheets was to provide 2 additional blank rows. And the purpose of these 2 additional blank rows is to accommodate any political party that we may be compelled to accommodate on the ballot paper by 11th hour judicial pronouncement. So those 2 additional rows are supposed to take care of that eventuality. So where you have a party on the ballot, but the logo is not on any of the result sheets, this can actually be added to the result sheets, for which rows have been provided accordingly. And the presiding officers and the collection agents are authorized to accept and certify and stamp the insertion of political parties where this situation arises. There are also unfolding situations in Abia and Imo states. In Abia, deployment is taking place late to the polling units. The Commission is aware, but we are assuring voters in Abia State that no matter how late we deploy to the polling units, if voters are on the queue before 2:30, they will vote no matter how long it takes. So we are aware of the situation in Abia State. We are also aware of the situation in Imo State. Generally speaking, but specifically in respect of 4 local government areas: Okigwe, Oguta, Osu, and Olu local government areas. In the whole of Osu, we had issues in all the 11 wards. In the case of Olu, it's 6 wards out of 11. In the case of Okigwe, it's 5 wards out of 11. And in the case of Oguta, it's more widespread. I had a discussion with the Inspector General of Police this morning, as well as the military. And our officials have been escorted to all the 4 locations. I take it that voting would have commenced in some of these difficult places. But if it doesn't, then I want to assure voters in those locations that election will hold and they will not be disenfranchised. We are going to be making this briefing to Nigerians intermittent throughout the day. So we'll go and review the situation further. I hope in the next, what's the time now, Festus? Almost 1:30. Should we say 4:30? 4:30 will be here to provide Nigerians further updates. But this briefing is also supposed to be interactive. Yes, we may be journalists, but we are above all Nigerians. There are things you might have heard, things that we might have seen, reports that we might have read, that we would wish to draw our attention to. In our situation room, we have several platforms. That is what is called the INEC Citizens Contact Center, ICCC, where Nigerians using different platforms also relate with the Commission, report situations, and we have been responding. But you'll understand that we are in the middle of an election. So if there are 1 or 2 questions or observations or suggestions, I would like to listen to them and respond to the questions before we go back to the situation room. Thank you very much.
Please, if you have any questions, quickly indicate. By raising up your hand, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Chinaza Samuel. I report for Arise Television. Sir, my question is regarding polling units, especially the ones that were reassigned. We've received reports that some persons are having a hard time locating their polling units. I want to know what the Commission is doing to address it, especially because, Chairman, sir, yesterday you assured Nigerians that no one will be disenfranchised. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman. My name is Mio Gidi of NTA. You have acknowledged that polling distribution of materials arrived late in some polling units. And that is not a fault of the electorate. And their time has been taken off. Are you considering extending the time beyond 2:30? And secondly, we just got report that Boko Haram terrorists launched an attack in Goza in Borno State, and some of your personnel were injured, including the electorate. Have you received any information and any action has been taken? And secondly, one of the vice presidential candidates and a governor of a state went to their polling unit in Borno State. As of 11 o'clock, your men were not on ground. So are you taking action regarding some of these issues? And AFAB Estate at Apo, as of 11:30, no materials. The same thing in Federal Housing Estates in Lube. Can you please respond to some of them or all? Thank you.
Okay, I crave your indulgence to respond to these issues quickly so that we go back to our situation room. The next briefing will be at 4:30. So let me start with Arise TV, the difficulty locating polling units. That is why before the election, we embarked on a campaign encouraging citizens to identify their polling units. We have 6.7 million citizens in that respect, and quite a number of them have done so. I actually expected that the complaint that we are going to receive from people who could not locate their polling units will be louder than that. We tried to solve a 25-year-old problem in the history of Nigeria by expanding voter access to polling units, which we successfully did in 2021. Before then, the delimitation of polling units was the one done by the old NECON, not INEC, in 1996. Doing so means redistributing some voters to polling units. The law empowers the Commission to create polling units and to allot voters to them. There is population increase, movement of people up and down the country, and so we did so. But what we did in the main was to redistribute voters from congested polling units in proximate or same location. In other words, voters were not in the main taken out of the locations where they have voted consistently since 1999. So what did we do? We published the entire list of the redistributed voters and shared with our state offices. We worked with the mobile telecom network operators in Nigeria and sent bulk text messages to the affected Nigerians. We encourage our state offices to engage in publicity in the local languages. And then we came up with two simple ways by which citizens could locate their polling units ahead of election day. One of which was our website. But the other one, which is simpler, is we provided two telephone numbers to which you can send a simple text message indicating your state, your surname, and the last 6 digits of your voter identification number, and you will receive a message telling you that this is your polling unit. We appreciate that not all Nigerians have smartphones or access to the internet, and that's why when we send the list to the states, we ask them to engage with those voters that we may have redistributed to some of the polling units, and also engage in publicity in the local language. So these are some of the steps that we took. In fact, very interestingly, a friend of mine was very angry. We moved the person from one polling unit in Abuja to another polling unit, and he sent me a message to say that the Commission has no powers under the law to do so. After all, how can you move me to a polling unit without my consent? Well, I quoted the section of the law. And I called him and said, why are you so angry? He said, no, I'm not angry. I said, please read the message carefully. We said you have been moved from a congested to a more convenient polling unit in the same premises. So in other words, you even don't have to walk long distance. Then he looked at the message and said, sorry, actually I didn't read the message. I thought you moved me to another town. So, but we have been to school, we should be able to read, and understand messages. So if there are Nigerians who are unfortunately still unable to locate their polling units, I apologize on behalf of the Commission, but voting has not ended. You can still send text message to the numbers that we have provided there on our social media platforms. They are also on the hard copies of the information we shared here early this week on the number of PVCs collected. And you in the media can help us before voting ends for people to know how they can locate their polling units and to vote on election day. Our intention was never to disenfranchise Nigerians, but to make it more convenient for Nigerians to vote easily. Unfortunately, some of the polling units are still congested, because when we contacted some Nigerians, they preferred to be left in the congested polling units, some for security considerations, that we feel more secure while we have been voting, even if the units are congested, than taking us to a less populated polling unit, which may be some distance away from our comfort zones. So these are the steps that we have taken, and this is the rationale for voter redistribution. Mia Ogidi, I have answered your question partially in my opening statement. I said that no Nigerian will be disenfranchised. Yes, we opened the polling units late, and we admitted that in some cases the polling units were opened late. But the system has an automatic mechanism for recovering lost time. We don't start 8:30 and close 2:30 on the dot. If we start later than 8:30, whoever is on the queue before 2:30 will vote, no matter how long it takes. So no Nigerian will be disenfranchised on that score, provided that person is at the polling unit before 2:30. You talked about one of the vice presidential candidates unable to vote in Maiduguri Metropolitan Council. We are following and tracking the challenges we have in two locations in Borno State, the Maiduguri Metropolitan Council and Jiri. So we are tracking that. Voting hasn't ended. We are sure we'll overcome whatever challenges, and every Nigerian will have the opportunity to vote. Then finally, you talked about the attack on some of our officials in Goza. We are tracking that one as well. There are some, should I say, bandits or some insurgents that were firing from the mountaintop in Goza, just firing at random. That was what we were tracking before we had to come to brief you. So we'll continue to track. At 4:30, we should be in a position to give further update on that. I thank you very much. The work continues. See you at 4:30.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Please, we all gather again here at 4:30 for the next round of update from the Commission. Thank you.
At 4:30 p.m. today for more briefing. But in the meantime, he has given Nigerians assurance that no one will be disenfranchised. He's aware that some polling units did not start accreditation on time or voting, but if you arrive at your polling unit before 2:30, you will be accredited and be able to perform your civic right. And also, he talked about the fact that since 2011, this is the first time Nigeria will not be postponing elections. There's so much confidence he exudes there, Mr. Olaide. And he talked about the beaver snatching. Now, it's no longer the ballot box snatching, but luckily for the INEC, the security security officials were able to step in on time and recover about 3 beavers machines, which is a good, good thing for our security agencies who are really putting in a lot of effort to ensure
that we've recorded this attack. Is totally condemnable. But again, it goes to underscore the lingering insecurity challenges that we still have. Reminding us that, yes, we may be making progress, but this challenge remains with us, and we need to do much more. And so, for the next government, their responsibility is clear when it comes to insecurity. We cannot afford a situation where, as a result of insecurity, our democracy is, run into major constitutional crisis. We need to continue to make this point clear to government, clear to the security agencies, and continue to support them as well. But be that as it may, the fact that the political class no longer now chase the ballot boxes, but are now running after beavers, it just again shows the progress and the level of desperation. And so Nigerians are winning. INEC is winning. I think that's the positive side of this, that the beavers is now being targeted. For me, it shows that INEC is winning. INEC has always struggled with organizing transparent, free, credible elections, while the political class in particular has always been more committed to going to an election that is predictive. The political class wants to go to the elections with a level of certainty that I will win, which totally negates, the essence of democracy and multi-party democracy and elections. So it's a good reminder that INEC is winning, but again, we must take a major lesson that from this, that we need to do much more to protect INEC officials, to secure all sensitive and non-sensitive materials that we deploy during the elections. I wouldn't want to call out the security on this matter yet, but I think it's important that we also ask some very important questions. 424 or 428,000.
425,000.
425,000 security officials have been deployed to these elections. It's monumental.
Yes.
We cannot afford gaps like this, where voters are scared away, voters can be injured at will. Given also that I listened to the IG statement yesterday, and as well taking on board several violence threat assessments that has been done by civil society groups. I think that specific non-state actor groups that pose serious challenge to the elections have been identified. Their locations have been identified. Recommendations have been made in terms of how to neutralize or mitigate those threats. And the fact that those threats are still manifesting today, I think raises fundamental questions about the security plan that has been deployed. One life is more than enough. One life lost during the elections is more than enough.
Yes.
And so the fact that places have been attacked, voters have been injured, INEC staff have been injured, I think it just reminds us that we need to do much more than we are currently doing.
Yes, indeed, but INEC, of course, it will continue to play its own part, and our security officials sometimes can be overwhelmed. Professor Yakub, you want to agree with me on that? And, the good thing is that the INEC chairman has given Nigerians assurance that no matter the time, he is aware of late arrival of, materials or INEC officials, and he's aware of that, so timing will be extended depending on when voting or accreditation commences in a particular polling unit that has been delayed.
Yep. Well, that's what the chairman said, which is also commendable. whoever arrives before 2:30, that's what he said.
Yes.
You know,
and as long as you're on the queue.
On the queue, yes, you'll be allowed to vote, which, you know, actually amplifies the point as has been made so far, that nobody is going to be disenfranchised, you know, during the election. I think this is, you know, a very good, you know, way to begin the process. And considering the fact also that, you know, we have another election coming up in the next 2 weeks or so, you know, could clearly, you know, as specifies or strengthens this, this particular point that he has made. You know, on overall, I think, you know, the explanations the chairman has given during this press briefing is also very much welcome. And as Ndayo has put it, you know, it is not, people are no more chasing ballot boxes, but they are chasing
the Viewers machine.
Yeah, and the Viewers probably because of also, you know, the efforts made by INEC to ensure that so many of this equipment were available, even in excess. You know, actually, you know, also provides succor, you know, to both the voters as well as the competitors. That at the end of the day, you know, Nigerians will get, you know, credible results, you know, from the electoral exercise.
Mr. Modibo, you agree with me that if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. INEC has demonstrated its level of preparedness and planning in terms of ensuring that nothing is left to chance. There's a whole lot that has been put in place. Yes, he acknowledged the logistic challenge that has been a perennial problem right from time in terms of election processes like this, but that is being put on check.
Yes. You see, Ruth, assuming without necessarily conceding to some of the weird logic of these thugs and some of these hooligans or charlatans that are snatching ballots, that are snatching beavers machine. Now the fundamental question to ask, Ruth, is why snatching of the beavers machine? What are they going to do with it? Because even if you snatch it, you are not going to add any value.
Because I was wondering.
Of course, because even if you go by yourself, if you are printing 100,000 there, it will never enter the system. Because it did not capture either the face or the thumb. So therefore, it's a needless exercise. And therefore, to me, these people do not even know the importance. They thought maybe it's just like ballot snatching before, where you can snatch ballots and just get away with it to disenfranchise people from voting. But INEC has been able to take care of these exigencies because I'm sure, you know, when you have professors, people of great thinkers and philosophers, when they sit down, they look ahead, they plan, because they have previous experience of ballot snatching, massive thumb printing and what have you, and then snatching of papers. So they have been thinking ahead that, look, in the event of this, what are we going to do? So they prepared for extras so that if there's any problem, immediately is replaced. Now, those who can go with it, if they will go with it, those beavers, there's no picture there that they will look at and think whether it is like a phone or this and that they will enjoy looking at pictures there. Nothing. So it is a needless exercise. Therefore, happily, the security people are up and doing. But with this experience now, I want INEC to also think ahead of fortifying security in the next elections around the sensitive material.
Yes.
Because these thugs and hooligans can only do this when there is no fortification of security. They just took care, they just took advantage of the lapses in terms of security to come and snatch this thing. But if you have the police and the military and all other security agencies following these sensitive materials, there is no way a thug will see a gun and then will start coming. Even how so audacious he is, he will never come and snatch all these things. So, thank God that after snatching, they've been able to recover some. But there is fortification, there is also reserves that can go and take care of all the electoral areas that these people will foresee as if they want to disenfranchise them. Because I'm sure these people will do this because they feel maybe it's not their stronghold. It is not where they have comparative advantages in terms of electoral prowess.
So they want to truncate the process.
They want to truncate the process in that place so as to give the advantage in other areas. But they don't know that INEC, they are more wiser. They plan ahead. And then whatever they do, since the INEC chairman has already stated that if you are on the queue, even if it's going to go up to tomorrow morning, once you're on the queue, you will vote. So therefore, there is no need for people to fear. Fortified security, all I want is fortification of security. I'm happy that the security agencies have been able to get themselves fortified, especially in the southeast, in other...
In the northeast region also.
Northeast and other flashpoints. But there's a need for strategic thinking to see how we'll be able to have fortification of security and then allow the process to go without let or hindrance.
Mr. Olaide, earlier when the INEC chairman was briefing, when the lady from Arise TV asked the question of people not knowing their polling units, you showed me the text message that was sent to you. You want to talk about that? Because some people are still left stranded.
So I think that INEC has shown that it's a listening agency, which I think is commendable. And we've seen this all started 2011, and that the fact that it's a listening organization was why it then decided to do this massive, bulk SMS to all of the groups that were affected. And I got one.
Did you send a text?
I never had to send any text. I got a text message that basically said, you have been moved from a congested polling unit 022, because I voted in Wuye, to unit 160, also in Wuye. Walking distance. Fine. I had to also leave very early, because I live in Gwarimpa. I had to leave early to be able to get to my polling unit because I was committed to voting. Come vote me. And so, and it happened seamless. The 022 to where I was, it's less than 100-meter walk, really. But again, we must acknowledge that not everyone might have received it.
Yes.
But I think something else that I also had to do was I needed to go out yesterday
to confirm.
To go and confirm. So going out yesterday, there wasn't anything people I could talk to. And so I stopped at Wuye Market. Is there going to be a polling unit here? A couple of people said yes. Do you know what the polling unit would be? Some said 163, 162. Mine is 160. Then I went to the police station. Asked, is there going to be a polling unit here? Yes, there's going to be a polling unit. There, so I did all of this, and it helped. So today, I basically just drove down there, even though I couldn't establish 160 yesterday. But the fact that I already knew there's going to be a polling unit here, there's going to be another one here, there's going to be another one there. It was very easy for me to then move around and establish my 160. And the reason why, I was within the first 30 people on the line to actually vote this morning. So INEC did a part of that job. But I think we must also stress the fact that Nigerians have a role to play as well.
Yes.
If you got the bulk text message, SMS, go out there, verify. If you had done that yesterday, it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to vote.
Because I want to say it's almost 2:30, so I don't think that's even, depending on where your location is and if you're able to move, because there's no movement, so to say, certain areas. But if you're not able to do that, now, it's not about being disenfranchised now. It's about, ensuring that we're all part of the process. We're all, performing our civic rights, so to say, which is very important. Professor Yakubu, I know you want to respond to that. Just hold that thought there. We want to join our correspondent. Now, which zone are we headed? Can I get that information, please? Okay, Lagos. Let's connect to Lagos.
I've been asking them. They said we are going to take some stories. I said they should get me the intros.
Their own voice from there is coming up from
You're there from our correspondent who is trying to give us a situation report from his location there in Lagos. As soon as we're able to fix that, we'll definitely rejoin him where he is. Have we fixed that? Okay, let's go to Jos now, where Zanret is in our Vedic studio there to tell us what she has in store there for us. Zanret, what's happening at your end? What information will you be feeding us at this time? And good to see you, by the way, on the other side.
Well, it's good to see you too, Ruth. And here in Jos, I think the situation is very calm, and I think everything is going as planned. And I have the Associate Professor Ezekiel Major Adeyi, who is the head of Political Science Department, University of Jos, here in the studio, and also Mrs. Kaneng Pamhoro, who is the NOA Director in Plateau State, and they're going to give us some information from the observations from the field. But before then, let's get some reports from the field. Our reporters are out there and feeding us some reports. Let's get a report from Sadat Mohammed Kafa, who is standing by in Busa Buji Apata in Jos North local government area. Sadat Mohammed Kafa.
I'm here at Busa Buji Street, 1.021 under Jenta Apata Road, and I'm with the presiding officer, Chinanza Ujoku. Yes, we are standing behind the time based on because of we are trying to sort of things at the RAC center. We started there late, so but we are trying to fix up our ballot papers and arrange things, and I have finished addressing them. So the next thing is to commence with the accreditation. After this, we just start immediately. Behind me are eligible voters. They are agitated because voting and accreditation is yet to commence as scheduled. Right now, I have with me an agent in this polling unit. Sir, can you tell us why the accreditation and voting is yet to commence?
The INEC officials came a little bit late, and as you can see, they are getting set now to start the process. So we're starting now. They've done the announcement. They've given us the rules and regulations guiding the election. So we're starting now.
For now, no, but the preparation is going well. Although it's my first time of voting, but by God's grace, we believe everything will go well with the way we see things and the turn up this morning.
The process is going on smoothly. As you can see, everything is going on well. Though election have not yet started, but everything is moving on well. And just as we have prayed, we believe that God will make it to be a hinge-free process.
Also, I have with me Moses Alabo. He's one of the prospective voters in this polling unit. So, Moses, can you tell us the process so far? Has voting commenced?
No, for now, voting have not commenced, even though the INEC ad hoc staffs are available, sorting out their materials. As you can see, everywhere is calm. The people are so conducting. They are so cooperating with the INEC staffs, and I believe everything will be done peacefully and fair. We are out here to vote because change begins with us. We're here to do the right thing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And you've heard it all from the voters. It's back to the studio.
Now let's hear from Priscilla Grumnan, who is in Ajikama in Shandam local government area, the governor's polling unit, and she'll be telling us what is going on there.
We are at the 015 polling unit in Ajikamai, that is in Shandan local government area. And this actually is the polling unit of the governor, Simon Bakola Long, who is being expected to come in a short while to cast his ballot. I spoke with one of the presiding officers who told me that there are 2 beavers machines here, but actually one of them is not working. However, they are using one of the functional machines to attend to people that are willing to cast their ballots here.
Report I've received, commissioners of police were in my place this morning. It's very peaceful. It's going on well in Plateau State. Everywhere is peaceful. There's anxiety to elect leaders, and you can see that people came up. The turnout has been very, very impressive. They came out very early, and all the queues are here. People are voting peacefully, discussing and joking with themselves.
Have you been able to?
And similarly, we have voters in Gigiring, just south local government area of Plateau State, commending the electoral body for a hitch-free exercise. Let's hear from Salo Abdurrahman Mohammed.
The Mountain View and Anglo-Jos polling units, the turnout was impressive and the atmosphere calm, orderly and peaceful, as the voters can be seen trying to exercise their franchise according to the dictates of the law.
The name of this polling unit is Mountain View. And so far, the election process has been very peaceful and it has been moving on accordingly. There has not been any issue. And for the speed, I think it's okay. It's okay. The INEC officials are doing their best to ensure that we live here on time.
Okay, well, you can actually see the polling unit. The elections here has been peaceful. We came out all quite early, and accreditation and voting have started. This polling unit, even over time, has always been peaceful. Today, with specific example, you can see the number, the turnout, very encouraging, and all voters are conducting themselves properly and cooperating with the officials. So voting is going on and peacefully too.
Some of the voters who spoke commended the INEC as no issues were recorded with the beavers so far.
We've not had any issue. For those that my parents just left now, they were attended to because they are senior citizens, and it's fine. There's no issue with the beavers.
We have not seen any compromising positions. We are just happy and fine with them because they are doing everything according to the law.
Security agencies were on ground to ensure hitch-free exercise. In Jos, Salah Abdurrahman Mohammed, NTA News.
Now let's hear from our guest what they observed out there in the field. Mrs. Horo, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
And so from our reports and your tour of some of the polling units you went to, what are your observations of the exercise so far?
Thank you for having me once again. I am very happy because even before I left my house, or even after I left my house, the places I passed, people were already there at the expected polling units, waiting for the officials to arrive. That was before 7 o'clock. And I drove around to pick my staff for the walk. And honestly, by 8, somewhere around Angwarukuba, by 8, people had gathered and put stones on the signifying queues. And you know what? They devised the means by giving themselves numbers. Okay, so people are aware, they are conscientized, they have come out. Beavers has been working. I have not found anywhere that Beavers is not working. I've seen that vehicular movement is very restricted. People, very few vehicles on the road. There are those with election duties. I have those that are probably driving to go and cast their votes where they are. I am also impressed because even though elections started fairly late, well, in most of the places I went around to observe, but even though it came late, but people, the anxiety or the willingness of the people to help the officials to start up the place is quite impressive too. It shows that they have working as a team. Okay, I've seen party agents. I've seen 3 or 4 party agents regularly. They are all there, and very impressively too. I want to say that people came out with their voters card. People came out with their voters card. It means that the mobilization we did, it got somewhere. And people also, let me comment also CSOs. Probably they will come here and tell us what they did, they've done. But I am saying that CSOs really did good work alongside with us, because I know I have collaborated with some CSOs, and I'm very impressed about that. I'm happy because so far so good. There are security agents almost everywhere, very few places. The rowdiness is not as bad, but there are some places that are rowdy, okay, because of lack of security agents in those polling units. But so far so good. I'm happy, even though in Wase local government, it was reported to me that even as at 1:30, the whole of Wase local government has not started voting. And I don't know why that is so. Please, we'll get to find out. I could not get across to.
Okay, I hope you get that information for us later then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So before we come back to you, let me, Associate Professor, please, I understand you voted.
Yeah.
All right. So can you tell us what was the experience like? Because it seems this election seems to be different. Can you tell us some of the changes and your experiences?
Yeah, I think I want to commend the voters. They have shown maturity and commitment. I voted at Kano Central 2, a very large area, and the INEC officials came late, but people were very calm. I went around interacting. They were saying, well, even if it is 10 p.m., they are going nowhere. And when they came, they apologized to the electorate and said they had some challenges, and then gave a briefing, and people were orderly, queued, and people were voting. They gave special preferences for senior citizens. I refused. They were begging me to go and vote. I said no, because I wanted to study their behavior and be sure that they are doing well. And when people could not be captured through fingerprint, they used the camera to get them through. And the message from the voting I saw is that the electorates are organized. They are orderly. That it will be disastrous for their wishes not to be captured. People came out and they are ready. They are non-violent. They are friendly, and they know the rules, which shows that the National Orientation Agency and other organizations have done a perfect job in terms of political education. And again, there is no case of security breach. The security men, they were working collaboratively, all the security agencies. In each of the polling stations, you see them. You see the police, you see the civil defense, and so on. They worked as a team. And I believe that we are moving forward. So with what has happened today, the masses have demonstrated their will.
And that's your expert opinion as a political scientist?
Yeah, as a political scientist and a voter too, I voted, and as a citizen, I've seen the willingness of the people. Nobody was coercing anybody to vote. The youths who used to play football and watch films, they were all there. The elderly, a very old woman, she has crammed the identity of the party she was voting for. They wanted to eat. I said no. She knows what who she's going to vote for. She said for presidential, the ballot paper, the fellow she's voting for is number so on the sheet and so on.
Wow.
Which means the level of education is encouraging.
Yes.
So we just hope that this process will go on with this integrity. That at the end of the day, there will be no any excuse. The wish of the people will be established.
Okay. So earlier you spoke about the fact that some polling units had issues starting off, and we understand that even our reporters out there have been sending reports saying there are polling units who have not even seen their officials yet. What are your people telling you, your people who are out there? What is the information?
Yes, I've received reports from some local governments. It's the same in Biladi. It didn't start in Barkinladi local government area. It didn't start early enough. In Wase local government, just as I mentioned earlier, as at 1:30 this afternoon, they said that they had not started voting. And I know that somewhere also in Biladi local government, in Bakin Kogi Patiko area, they said there was a fracas that led to people stabbing themselves because of the ballot box. And because you see, INEC has tried to split polling units. Okay, so I understand that because of that split, some people were insisting that they were the ones that are supposed to have the ballot box, while others are saying it is not there. Because of that small misunderstanding, they have stabbed themselves. 2 people already, they said, on their way to the hospital. And so far, so good. This in Bassa local government, okay, I received a report too that they had not started early, but I was able to go to some part of Bassa local government where I witnessed election is going on smoothly. Everything is going on smoothly, and we appreciate that quite well because people came out en masse, and that is good for us, that people are more educated, they are more conscientized, they are more politically aware of what they want. So that will help them to, choose the leaders that they want, just as we told them. Choose according, or vote according to your conscience. Honestly, I'm impressed. People are coming out, and they are doing that according to their conscience. Yes, just as Associate Prof has said, they give room to the elderly. They give room to the elderly. They give room to the handicapped. Okay? They give room to the handicapped. A pregnant woman, a nursing mother, an old person, people with disabilities, all these people are considered. And I'm very impressed. Women and youth have come out, and I am so happy. This is our target. Women and youth have come out. Okay. Yes, I'm impressed.
So she was just talking about turning up, and as a political scientist, can you talk to us about the percentages of representation of people in the voting system? What's your idea of how people have come out to represent, for example, youths, for instance?
Yeah, I think from the few places I saw, the dominant population is the youths, followed by the women. And some of them are just coming in for the first time to vote. Yeah. So that interest, the zeal to be a part of it, made the percentage to be higher than the previous ones. That is number one. Number two, maybe the political parties have actually campaigned. They have done their work, coupled with what agencies like National Orientation Orientation Agency did, and what some other organizations, civil society organizations did, probably also helped. And above all, the political behavior of voters is a reaction of their experiences. If you have benefited from the government, you want the government to continue. If you have suffered from the government, you want to come out and make a statement that enough is enough. So these are the things. So overall, you discover that averagely, across our population, we discover that almost every segment of the society is actively participating in the election on the plateau. And I think this level of political participation is a symbol to good governance. And like I said earlier, the only way to translate this to reality is to make sure that these votes count. There should be no excuse, there should be no complaint that something happens somewhere. People have it out, they have made their wishes known. And in doing that means that they have embraced democracy. And embracing democracy means there will be stability. And let's thank the security organizations, especially on the plateau. They are everywhere. They are very civil, and they relate very well. Areas where they need to intervene, they don't go harassing the people. They just say to them and encourage them, look, don't create problem here, because you will not see the end of what we are doing. And it has been very encouraging. I think we are moving forward. This is a very good step forward above previous elections. I think we'll get it right.
Okay. I believe we have something out there in Abuja, so we'll be handing over to Ruth Agwele in Abuja.
Thank you very much, Zeret. But just before I let you go, Zeret, I want to believe you're standing with me in solidarity, you know, to ensure that we give our viewers, you know, to the very best of serving every information, because where I'm headed is that you and I have been disenfranchised from voting today. Adiola is out of it. She's gone to vote. But I want to believe you won't be able to make it before 2:30. From Jos Verdict Studio, they're discussing the situation there in Jos in terms of the election. We'll pick up from here in Abuja. We'll definitely bring you more updates as they trickle in from across the country, connect with our correspondents, and also dish out some reports that may have played out earlier very shortly. But let me introduce a guest who walked in while we were in Jos Studio, Oluwole Osaze Uzi. He's a legal practitioner and an election expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good day.
All right. So far, so good. You've been following the process. You want to respond to what you have observed so far?
Well, the INEC chairman has spoken about the official position, about how the commission has viewed things, and of course your expert analysts have also spoken. I think by and by, apart from the late commencement in some areas and the skirmishes in a couple more areas, I think it's a relatively fair exercise, generally speaking, so far. It's still a long way to go. Some of the more sensitive aspects of the exercise were yet to come to. For example, we still have to wait for the close of the polls, official close of polls. We have to wait for sorting, counting, and then the result declaration. So these are critical stages as well. So it's too early for anybody to say, oh, it's very good. You cannot draw conclusions at this stage. But all you can say is, for now, so far, so good. So we are still going to study the situation, monitor the situation, see how things go with the declaration of results, both the results of at the polling unit stage, the collation of results, and then the final declaration for the Senate, House of Representatives, and of course the collation, final collation of the presidential, which will be done here in Abuja, and a declaration made by the Chief Electoral Commissioner. If any of the parties is able to achieve the threshold at the first ballot, then a declaration will be made. If not, we'll have to wait for the runoff. So it's still a long way to go. I'm sure in the next few hours, the results will begin to trickle in all those places where it started on time. I'm more comfortable with the assurance given to the INEC chairman that where there was late commencement in the opening of the polls, sufficient time will be extended. In between, I was able to go around some polling units, and I saw that some in Abuja, unfortunately, one or two started late. But there are quite a number on my way here, quite a number of them. The presiding officer, the officials are sitting down there just waiting for 2:30. No voter has come for a few minutes, but they're just there. They are obliged to wait there until the close of the official close of polls. So that if somebody walks in there at 25 minutes past 2, the person will still be allowed to vote. Nobody's going to tell them, why are you just coming now? It's the person's choice, as long as you're there before 2:30. So far, so good is all we can say.
Okay, Mr. Modibo, you have seen in terms of the turnout, you know, from the different sections we have shown from across the country, voter turnout. We want to pin that to electoral education from INEC part and more of sensitization by political parties, you know, encouraging their supporters to come out en masse and vote. Based on your observation, what would be your perception, so to say?
Well, Ruth, if you look at the turnout is very impressive. Honestly, I have not, for a very long time, I would say since I started voting in 1979, as I've told you, to the present, I've never seen this massive turnout the way it is across the country. But unfortunately, there are some areas too where you find, you know, the officials just sitting idle because people have come, and there are reasons for that. At this moment, especially in Abuja, there has been decentralization of, you know, the polling units, where before you have about 500 or 1,000 people at a polling unit. Now it has been decentralized in so many, so there's that easy access to the voting pattern, where you just go within 5-10 minutes, you fill it. So you go, and some of these INEC, the coppers and INEC, they're just staying there, some are even sleeping, because virtually people have started from 8:30 and they voted. Now, looking at the issue of sensitization, I think it is, to me, enough has not been done, especially from the viewpoint of INEC and also the National Orientation Agency. I would have loved to see a situation where people are seriously sensitized based on programs of action, especially the issue of media. Media plays a very central role, very critical in dissemination of information, in setting an agenda, informing, and also educating the people. And therefore, media is very central. So what I had wanted, to see, because of this new agenda, quote and unquote, of this the use of beavers and what have you, I would have loved to see how INEC could have taught people how to do the voting pattern and how to move to almost all of these areas, and also the National Orientation Agency. It would have played a very central role. But I know, as a matter of fact, that there has been this problem associated with funding of the. So you can see that the National Orientation Agency is more of a toothless bulldog that could not back nor buy the muscle. So it's a very sad commentary. But it is not late. If we're going to the gubernatorial district, looking at the enthusiasm of people, and looking at the mass participation of people, and looking at the issues of people not even finding their the polling units, there's need to have a very forceful, very strong media presence where INEC will come out to teach people and to make people be aware of their responsibilities, especially when it comes to issues of beavers. Because a lot of people, especially in the villages now, they don't know how to operate. They don't know how the modus operandi of the beavers.
Okay. All right. Let me hold your thoughts there, Mr. Modibo. We want to connect to our correspondent, Mariam, in Port Harcourt. Mariam, what's the situation from the unit you are presently?
Happenings as they occurred across the 3 senatorial districts of the state. I have 2 analysts here in the studio, but before we get to introduce them, I'd like us to take a compilation of events as they unfolded this morning at the various polling units.
The much-awaited 2023 elections has commenced across various units and wards of the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. From Akukutoru local government area, correspondent Diankume Ulolo reports that voting has commenced with impressive turnout of eligible voters. Osnachi Abraham from Omuma and Echio local government areas reports that electorates have commended security personnel for their intervention in creating a peaceful atmosphere for voting to take place in those areas. Presidential and National Assembly elections in Oyibo, Ogubolo, Okrika, and Eleme local government areas is so far peaceful as reported by Ijoma Uveke. While there is impressive turnout of voters from Gokana, Kana, and Tai local government areas of Rivers State, Biva Barisiedo Maweke reports that the Social Democratic Party governorship candidate, Senator Magnus Abe, however, raised concern on the non-functionality of the Beavers machine. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, though experienced initial hitch with the Beavers machine, was finally able to cast his ballot as reported by Ogedini Ekwere. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has also been commended for the timely arrival of voting materials and for ensuring that accreditation and voting commenced early. However, Nigerians are optimistic that the outcome of the exercise will be accepted by all. In Port Harcourt, Chidiebere Onyia, NTA News.
And to give us an analysis of those happenings there, I have two guests in the studio. I have seated right by my immediate right, Haya King, a human rights advocate. Haya King, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
And seated next to him is Dr. Imam Weke, a public affairs analyst and lecturer. Dr. Imam, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I must thank you for your patience. He's been with us right from 9 a.m. Thanks for your patience and well done. All right, I don't know if you were able to cast your ballot before coming to the studio, Dr. Ima.
Yes, I did. But,
okay.
It was a very long queue. We had to wait till INEC officials arrived. But the very interesting thing I found was that Nigerians are very enthusiastic. The air around them very high. Everybody is hopeful that this time around we're going to get it right.
Okay.
So you could see in other polling units a whole lot of long queues, people waiting patiently for INEC officials to arrive. And I hope and I believe that we have not had so far any skirmishes around insecurity or people trying to act funny. We've not got such reports around River State, so we hope it continues like that.
Okay, and for Haya King, should we say the issue of voter apathy should not be in the past? Considering the outcome here as a turnout at the various polling units.
I went to vote.
Not just the turnout, but the attitude of Nigerians, the response to the election itself.
This time, maybe let's not say in the past until the next election.
But for now?
People turned out, and we didn't see people traveling as usual. Both our brothers from the north and our brothers Igbos traveling down to the southerners particularly. We didn't see them traveling down or traveling up north. Everybody stayed where he registered to be able to vote. So I believe that people came out to vote, and like I said, I went to vote. And when I voted, and what I discovered, unfortunately, was that the ballot boxes that INEC brought, they were all old ballot boxes. They didn't even bother to clean them up. They didn't even bother to wash them. Old ballot boxes, none of them were new ones. The Senate, the House of Reps, and where I voted, they were all old ballot boxes. Then I also discovered that the ballot papers, they are photocopy, colored photocopy. They are not printed. I have worked with INEC. I have seen their ballot papers before now. They didn't look like what we used to have. Those are my two observations. Then initially, I was not able to be verified, but at a point they said not verified. But when they inputted again and the thing came up, I think the initial, at the end of it, I think I was the second person to vote in my unit, and we did vote, and we started coming. I saw a lot of people. My concern is that all the people I saw, I don't even be able to vote, because that's a problem, because I know that I saw some places, I saw over 500, 200 persons, and I know that some units we used to have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 7,000, 10,000, voters. Now, if one beaver machine is, let's even take 1,000 voters in a unit where you have 1,000 voters, will one beaver machine be enough to accredit them within the time we are talking about? Because up till now, out there, we still have long queues.
Okay, maybe I'll just cut in there, because we're listening to the chairman there, INEC, and he was actually saying that so long as you are on the queue before 2:30, you will certainly be allowed to. You will not be disenfranchised. So I think that has taken care of that aspect of your observation.
What I'm trying to say is that what about if you have like a unit where you have 3,000 or 7,000 voters? Even if till tomorrow you will not be able to accredit everybody. What the INEC chairman
said as long as
they say they decentralize some of the units. Maybe we should be able to know, because right now I don't even know the capacity of voters a beaver machine can carry. I don't know.
Okay, I'm sure when we are privileged to host INEC, we'll be able to get all of that response. Now let me come to Dr. Ima. What do you say of INEC in terms of performance towards this election?
So far, it's kudos to INEC. They have inched up in their game. You see the flexible nature of management. You look at what he had to say about the accreditation and the timeline for the election. You see, you heard what he said, that those who would probably stay in the queue beyond 2:30 will be attended to. That's flexibility, and that is good element of management process. We also have seen generally the introduction of the beavers and how it has worked. I think this time around there has been a whole lot of improvement, and the logistics arrangement, we had thought that because of some of our macroeconomic issues in recent time, that they wouldn't have been possible, it wouldn't have been possible for INEC to engage a logistics agent in this exercise. But so far, there have been little hitches here and there, which might not be totally on the part of INEC. Election of this magnitude is a composite thing. It's not just one man's affair. It's an aggregate matter. So it could be there is in the fall a lot of responsibilities, shortfall in the responsibility of agents they may have engaged and all that. Okay. So, but we believe from what the INEC chair has said that those issues are being addressed, and we want to once again commend Nigerians for their high level of patriotism. Some of them have been in the queues this morning, waiting for even the arrival of INEC officials, who I think part of the problem might also be, maybe the number involved, the logistics issues, yes, getting to the venue of the elections. But so far, so good. It has been hooray.
Okay. So far, so good. Herr King, would you say that the mock accreditation exercise earlier carried out by INEC has contributed to a large extent to what we are having, the successes we are recording today so far?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't completely subscribe to that, because from where I went to, we still have to educate people. Because in the rural area,
I'm asking that question because at the initial time when Beavers was introduced, there was this apprehension among voters. Will this work? Will this not work? But that seemed to have disappeared with this election now taking place.
No, the Beavers are working where it's working because there are some human errors because every Beaver have a tag of the unit, the local government, and whatever. But again, when tagging it, you can mistag and all that happened. But again, the mock exercise may have been successful in some areas, but not actually in rural areas, because rural areas, the old women still came. This morning I said, hey, come, we are how then they do, that kind of thing, even the voting and all that. But again, people had to, guide them and all that. But the Beaver, again, is not fast. I took like 10 minutes. Imagine where you have 500 voters. 10 minutes times 500. It's a 230. That's about 500 hours. Is it 500 hours? No, I don't know. 10 times 5 is 50 hours. So you can imagine what it is. So how many hours do we have in a day? We have just 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 6, 7 hours. So it's not enough. So like what I was trying to explain initially, if we have, INEC should be able to decentralize the Beaver to the extent that even if the Beaver can carry 1 million, to be able to say, okay, 50 per Beavers, okay, 50 Beavers per, and all that, because considering the time, 10 minutes times 50, okay, it's okay, this will be like the 6 hours, you give it to that Beaver, okay, so in one unit, you can have up to 3, 4, 5 Beaver, depending on the population.
Thank you very much.
In future, these are some
Thank you very much, Herr King and Dr. Imanweke. Thank you so very much for joining us in the studios today. We hope to have you back as the election progresses. Thank you so very much. And Ruth, thank you very much for joining us in Port Harcourt. It's now back to you.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that information you've just dished out to us, talking about your interview session with your guest from our Verdict studio there in Port Harcourt. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's join Enugu right now. Let's find out what's happening in Enugu.
I tell you, it's been a very busy day for all of us in Nigeria, because it seems everyone is willing and determined to go out there and cast their vote more than ever before. I tell you, it's very special for us over here in Enugu, because, considering the insecurity situation or the security situation in the southeast, people were not deterred from going out there to cast their votes. And the reports, coming in from the foot soldiers keep on saying that there were delays here and there in various polling units. I mean, in terms of, material and personnel. But, with time, all of that settled. By the way, it happens to be a Women's Day in the studio today, so I have very important personalities who happen to be women, and they're here to share their experiences with us out there. The first person is Miriam Menkete. She is Executive Director, Women Information Network, and a former chairperson in Award, Enugu State, a retired General Manager, Radio Nigeria, and of course, a Vice Chair, Transition Monitoring Group. That means she has monitored and she has a lot to share with us. It's good to welcome you to the studios, ma'am.
Thank you.
What was your experience when you went there to cast your ballot today?
This morning I was at New Haven polling station, because that's where I went to cast my vote. At the time I got there, after 8, the INEC staff and the NYSC polling officers were already there, and they were trying to set up. It took quite some time to set up, and the names of the voters were pasted on the wall, and about 20 minutes to 10, the accreditation started. I was accredited, just like the others were accredited, but the beavers failed to recognize my face and my fingerprints. So when the actual voting started, I could not vote. I was not allowed to vote because the beavers did not verify me correctly. But there were quite a number of young people, and indeed there were very long queues in the polling units in New Haven Primary School. And as at the time I left that place, voting was in progress, the security agencies were there, the polling officers were doing their work, but I just do not understand why beavers could not recognize my face and my fingerprints.
It's okay, I will come back to the beavers matter. I still have another lady here with me. She is Professor Mrs. Florence Orabreze, the immediate past Director, Institute of African Studies, UNN, and the founder and chairman board, Grace Ozoma Okonkwo Foundation. It's good to have you in the studios now.
Thank you, my sister.
What was your own experience like?
Well, by 10 a.m., I went to my own polling unit at brick houses in Enugu here. When I reached there, I saw a lot of young people there, and they were waiting, but the INEC officials were not there. So I drove my son to Federal Government College, Enugu, to his own polling unit. I also saw a lot of people there, very young people. Many of them were there. So after driving him to that place, by 12 p.m., I went back to my own polling unit at brick houses. The young people were still there, but the amazing thing was that the INEC officials were there and they were working. I'm impressed with them. And one amazing thing again is that the elderly people, the pregnant women, nursing mothers, were given the opportunity to vote first. Okay. So we voted. I was impressed with the INEC young people there, and the security. It was a peaceful experience. And the young people were determined. Some of them, after voting, they stayed around, saying that they wanted to hear the results. So I am very much impressed.
Okay, thank you so much. Miriam Menkete, let's get back to you about the beavers issue, because you will agree with me that it is a very serious matter. What's your impression about that kind of a scenario?
It was very frustrating for me, because I came all the way to cast my vote, but the beavers disrupted it. What I think is that INEC has to look at this matter of beavers again and understand why, I could not vote, why the beavers could not verify me. My name is on the list of voters in that polling unit 003, and I was accredited. My name is on the list, but the beavers, did not recognize me. There were people before me and after me who were recognized. So I would want INEC to look into this matter again, the beavers issue, and find out exactly why I could not, be recognized by the beavers. You see, I was disenfranchised by the beavers. So it would be good if INEC looks into it so that other people like me will not be disenfranchised like I have been done today.
Okay, that point taken. I'm still with you. Let's look at generally women's participation in this election, because you were Vice Chair Transition Monitoring Group. From your experience in Monitor so far, how do you see women participation in this election?
Well, a lot of women came out as voters in this election, but as candidates, there are very few women who came out as candidates. We're hoping that some of them will win, but we're also thinking that when the chips are down, that the candidates who win the election will give appointments to women so as to carry us along. We're talking about inclusion, and there's no to include women in political appointments.
Okay, Prof, do I get your thoughts on this, please? Women participation this period.
Well, very few women are there. But the point is that, because of the amount of money that is involved, women will not have that type of money. Then also election violence is part of the problem of women. But the point again is that even when women are there, are other women ready and willing to vote for them? That is part of the problem. But like my sister said, we have diversity in this country based on so many grounds, including sex and gender. Even if they don't make it at the elections, for the appointive positions, they could also be compensated, so that there will be gender equity, gender fairness, and gender equality.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much. I'd like to thank both of you for coming. But the discussion still continues. Before then, let's take this report from Udenu, where His Excellency Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi voted today, and Chika Ugu is with that report.
At Amobe Ward 1 and 2 in Oba, Udenu local government area of the state, accreditation and voting commenced simultaneously as scheduled by INEC, with impressive turnout of voters. The exercise was generally peaceful as electorates took turns to cast their votes in orderly manner. There was presence of security personnel to forestall any form of violence, while INEC officials and ad hoc staff were on ground and experienced no difficulty with the beavers machine. Independent observers were also seen ensuring a free and fair election.
Well, so far so good. Looking at the electoral framework, there has been sufficient compliance in line with the Constitution and in line with the INEC guidelines. The number of engagements with the civil society, the police, or the security outfit generally is being complied with.
The arrival of Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi at about 10 in the morning was greeted with excitement by the people present. While he cast his ballot, he applauded the exercise and the voters for exercising their franchise in an orderly manner. In Enugu, Chika Ugu, NTA News.
Situation at Udenu earlier today, courtesy of Chika. And of course, I still now have two gentlemen in the studios here with me to analyze the situation in Enugu today. First person is Professor Chinedu Nebu. Of course, you know he is a former minister and vice chancellor. Sir, you're welcome to
Thank you very much.
And of course, Maxwell Ngene is a public affairs analyst and of course a senior lecturer. You're welcome, Max.
Thank you very much, Nana.
Okay, let's start with Prof. Look at the situation. You know how they feel about, how the situation is security-wise in the east, southeast. And of course, you went out there to vote, and there was massive turnout. Please share your experience with us.
I was so delighted with what I saw at Okpara Square. And the crowd that I met there, I've never seen before during an election. I would say it is unprecedented, the determination and doggedness of the people to vote in spite of little problems here and there is unparalleled. When I went there, I was shocked. I saw octogenarians, nonagenarians, people who are 90 years and above,
In one case, I saw a man, very old, and I think he was blind, and being led by an old wife too. People are just determined. So I feel that with regard to the security situation, people took to heart the promise of the commander of the 82 DIV that there is going to be peace all through. There was no fracas whatsoever, and everything went very smoothly. And I'm delighted because of that.
Thank you, Prof. Max. What was your experience?
Thank you very much. My polling unit was at the Federal Government College, Enugu, School 1, where I went to vote. Even I speak to you now, I am yet to vote. The reason is that INEC officials were late. They arrived with the essential materials at exactly 10:28, and but I was also very delighted with the massive turnout of our people. People irrespective of their gender or sexes, people from all walks of life, old, young, particularly the youths. The youths of Nigeria appear to me to be very, very determined, very dogged actually, to bring about the positive change that Nigerians dream of. So to that extent, they didn't even quarrel with members of the INEC for coming about 2 hours plus late, because we were expecting them to be around from 8 a.m. I decided to come here because NTA had earlier told me that I'm a resource person, but I expect to go back there to cast my vote because I've written my name, and I've never seen the kind of turnout. At Federal Government College, you wouldn't believe what had happened. People were not afraid of security situation. People are not afraid of the threatening message of the criminal elements amongst us that were saying there won't be election in Southeast geopolitical zone of Nigeria. So I am indeed very proud and happy that the election is going on, and I'm sure that if we can get the kind of scenario that we saw at the rural areas, you know, if what was seen at Federal Government College at Opera Square could be replicated in such places, then this election must be seen as a very good one.
Okay, Prof, you know, it wouldn't be possible for us to get done with this discussion without mentioning the fact that, you know, there were insecurity situations in the state a few days ago, the case of a Labour Party senatorial district candidate being shot and all of that. How do we address this insecurity situation in Enugu and the zone?
It is rather very unfortunate, and not only was that delectable gentleman moved down by very wicked people, we don't know who they are, no arrests have been made, but also some of the candidates had their lives threatened, and some escaped, and we are so thankful to God for that. I think it may have been by those who felt that it is not right for us to go out and exercise our franchise. That is so unfortunate. I do hope that the government will do something about it, to begin to assassinate people who are bringing themselves out to serve this country. Is a horrible thing for the country. But in spite of all that, people were not deterred. The young people are just there so very massively. And in my own polling unit, they gave us old men and women preferential treatment. And you would think that the young people will complain. They would just give way for ancient people like us to come and fall in line on another queue. And they just treated us reverently and so on. We are very happy about that. But this whole security situation in the Southeast is so horrible. I do hope the government will attack this thing, get to the bottom of the root cause of these things, and deal with it. It doesn't go well for a society when there is so much insecurity, because it will affect development, commerce, business, industry, education, health, and so on. We don't want this kind of thing to continue to happen in our country.
Thank you so much, Prof. Max, before I let you guys go, what's your expectation from this election?
My expectation is that votes must count. My expectation is that results from INEC must be a true reflection of the votes that were cast. Our expectation is that the candidates that really won election must be made president of Nigeria, because it will help people to have confidence, not just in our democracy, but even in the leadership of INEC. We do know that in the last 7 years, most Nigerians have lost confidence in government. We were talking about the Vice Chancellor, the man we respect so much, was talking briefly now about the insecurity in the Southeast. Before now, many of the governors in the Southeast geopolitical zone have refused to address this issue. It doesn't mean that the insecurity is beyond them, because we do know that security of lives and property is a basic duty of anybody that has taken oath to lead.
And we hope
it will be tackled, because it will give confidence to the electorate, to people to know that indeed they have a future in Nigeria. Life is a primary value. Oyibo Chukwu that died is a man that I knew so well when he was alive, and I know that he had sweet dreams for Nigeria.
Prof, what your expectations, please?
I do hope so too. I do hope that those who win elections are declared winners. I've been monitoring a lot of things in so many places where there is a lot of vote suppression in some areas, in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, and so on, where people are being told they must vote for one party or they would not be allowed to vote. Thankfully, that's been addressed in some cases. I hope that this time around we will get it right.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Max, gentlemen, for coming on board. Thank you so much. And of course, as you know, our eyes are still on the radar. Our colleagues are still out there ensuring that we bring you blow to blow, encounter of what's happening there. Well, Ruth, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Mina. Quite an interesting conversation you had, especially with the women, talking about women's participation in the electoral process, which is actually quite impressive from what we have seen so far. Thank you very much for your contribution from that end. And let's not forget, today is not just about the presidential election. The National Assembly elections are also ongoing in about, this is 2:45, so I want to believe voting has ended in some polling unit that started at the right stipulated time. And for those that didn't start on time, the INEC chairman has given his confidence that voting will actually be fully done in those polling units that started very late. Okay, let's get back to our guest in the studio here, Mr. Dayo Olaide. We have to let you go very shortly, so let's hear your thoughts, your final thoughts. You're an election observer, you are an analyst when it comes to electoral processes. What are your expectations going forward?
I think it's important to state that elections go through several processes. The voting right now is an important part of that process. And like my colleague, one of the other panelists mentioned earlier, there is going to be counting, there is going to be collation, there is going to be announcement of the results. I think it's important that Nigerians continue to demonstrate the highest level of confidence and vigilance throughout the process. I think it's important that INEC continues to maintain these very transparent processes as well and continue to inspire public's hope in the process throughout, because what we don't want to happen at all is a repeat of 2011. And the more transparent the processes are, the more confidence people have in the process. I think the higher the chances that losers, because there will be losers and there will be winners, that losers are then in a better position to accept the result, which I think is good for our democracy, is good for Nigerians. And as well, Nigerians too will be more, we will be in a better position to also accept the result, because it's important that this happens. Otherwise, we are going to start on a very, very shaky note, where you have a government that is considered illegitimate in one part of the country or broadly. So it's important that the process is seen and supervised throughout in a very transparent and very open manner. And that would really be my expectation at this point.
Okay, so we have to let you go. You have other appointments to catch up. Mr. Dayo Olaide, he's an election analyst and observer, Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you so much for your input, and we'll continue to hope and pray that at the end of this whole process, it's seamless. There's a level of confidence already shown, and what we have observed so far, it's going well. So we want to hope for a credible, free, fair election. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Mr. Oluwole, you were former director INEC voter education for INEC. In terms of sensitization and awareness, and you have been following the process, for quite some time now. I'm talking about years, so to say. This is quite remarkable if we want to look at the turnout, but where the shortcomings is in the area of sensitization. A lot of people during the whole process, from reports we've been getting, some people, don't know where their polling units are, and then some others are confused in terms of where to thumbprint and all of that. But INEC, we should commend INEC, for the efforts they've put in so far in ensuring that the whole process is seamless. But what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think any election expert, any analyst will realize that you have to be circumspect when you talk about large voter turnout, impressive voter turnout. Ultimately, the ultimate test of the turnout of an election is at the end of the day, when you see how many people were actually accredited to vote. That is the basic yardstick for measuring it. Yes, there might be lots of people who appear to be in the polling units. That's good, that's important. But let us not use that, because when you start saying, oh, there's impressive voter turnout, and eventually results are declared, and you find the turnout of only 25%, that belies that. And people will now say, oh, they must have suppressed our votes or things like that. Certain impressions are created. So I'm careful about that. A lot of people turned out, but ultimately we must put a caveat that it is at the end of the day, the beavers is being used to determine the total number of accredited voters. And that's why I will also take this opportunity to address your guest in Enugu studios who was turned out by the beavers. INEC cannot do anything about it. It is what the law says.
Yes.
The risk of saying, allowing the person vote, I'm very happy with the way she took it, in good faith. Because the law says, if you allowed her to vote, for example, that will void the totality of the voting in that particular unit, because it will amount to overvoting.
Yes.
And overvoting has been redefined by the new Electoral Act. So the total number of people accredited by the beavers determines overvoting vis-a-vis the total number of ballot papers used for that election. Before, overvoting was only when the total number of votes exceeded the total number of registered voters. Now it is when the total number of votes exceed the total number accredited